Good evening, fellow gamers and college sports fans. Happy Valentine's Day, and welcome to the Pacific Alliance of Collegiate Gamers' first season. I'm Jake Superman Mori, and casting alongside me today is the play-by-play paladin himself, Ben Jihadre Sorensen. We're casting live from the historic Einar Nielsen Fieldhouse at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City. Tonight, we'll have the opportunity to watch as Oregon State University takes on the University of Utah, and later we'll see a matchup between University of Colorado and University of Oregon. Before moving forward, we did want to say that our thoughts go out to those people of Parkland, Florida, as they recover from today's terrible tragedy. We're still in the first week of the PACG Spring Tournament, so Jihadre, why don't you give us a rundown of how this tournament is going to play out before we get underway?
Thank you, Superman. All right, so the PACG Spring Season is actually 4 separate tournaments, one for all of League of Legends, Overwatch, Hearthstone, and Rocket League. For the next 8 weeks, the best players from 10 schools are going to go head-to-head every weekday night in the group stages. League of Legends players will be playing every Monday and Wednesday night, starting at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, 6 p.m. Pacific. Schools are split into 2 regions, the North and the South, and each school will have the chance to face every other school in their region in a best-of-3 match. At the end of the group stage, the top 3 teams from each region will go to the playoffs. A single elimination bracket with the top teams advancing directly to the semifinals. It all ends with Finals Week, when the final games of League of Legends, Overwatch, Hearthstone, and Rocket League will all be played in one high-octane week.
And to give our viewers a better idea as to how all of this is set up, let's take a look at those groups. So you can see, we've got for the South region, we have University of Arizona, Arizona State University, University of California, Los Angeles, University of Southern California, and Washington State University.
Then filling in the North region, we have the University of Colorado, University of Oregon, Oregon State University, Stanford University, and the University of Utah.
And of course, looking forward for the schedule, you see that tonight will be the first matches for all of our featured teams. If you joined us on Monday, you got to see ASU showcase their talented lineup as they took a convincing 2-0 over USC. Now, tonight, we got OSU, Utah, Oregon, and Colorado all hoping to set themselves up for success by joining the tops of their group standings early as well.
And so I'm looking forward to this in the next week coming up, because then we'll have more graphics to show, more stats, more everything to really show how this tournament is really taking shape. See if we have some leaders or a group that stands particularly ahead. Even see if the groups themselves are more evenly matched. If we have 2 teams in the North really taking it by storm, and then everybody in the South being relatively even, things like that.
Yeah, and we'll get that matchup on your screen in just a moment. You'll see that throughout this first week, the next couple weeks as well, will be the time that these teams will set themselves apart or fall behind, right? They'll be looking to see which of these teams are stronger, which are the weaker teams, what particular players will be the ones to watch, of course, in these particular matchups. And tonight, we're going to start with Utah versus Oregon State. We'll get those lineups on your screen shortly before we get right underway. Again, 2 best-of-3 matches coming your way shortly. Should be good games. These are close teams.
For sure. And so, who do we have here?
All right, so for University of Utah's Utes, in the top lane, we have Swish with Kraydon in the jungle. Kenya subbing in today for mid. And then James, that star 80 carry, the one to watch, supported here by Adam Josh 11. Now
looking over at Oregon State University's Beavers, there is Zoologist in the top lane. Funny thing, he is a zoology major.
Nice.
Just a thing to point out here.
That's awesome.
Reincarnation in the jungle. Best Sniper Africa running the mid lane with S. Poly and Svoboda in the bot lane.
Yeah, and then this matchup should be pretty good. We actually saw these 2 teams go head-to-head not 3 weeks ago, I think it was, where it ended up being a 2-0 in favor of Utah. But there were some pretty hard-fought matches. It was mostly just that James got extremely strong, extremely far ahead. I believe a Kog'Maw game was in there.
There was at least one Kog'Maw game, that is for sure.
A huge showing there for James. And, of course, showcasing Adam Josh on that support as well. So I look to see great things out of the bottom lane from University of Utah. And then, of course, Zoologist and Reincarnation, for them bringing themselves to 2-2 over in the ULAL circuit, their team's doing relatively well. And a lot of it has been that jungle top synergy or jungle mid synergy with Best Sniper Africa to bring them some successes.
And what I want to see is continued placement of their win conditions. Like you were mentioning, for the University of Utah, that bot lane is critical.
Yes.
Getting James ahead, having Adam Josh on that type of initiation champion that we've seen him play. But then over on the side of Oregon State, you want to see that jungler really be aggressive, maybe picking into those top three that you and I talk about, like the likes of Sejuani and Zach and Jarvan, getting those guys in there and starting the fights as the meta dictates and getting his team ahead.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with the draft. I'm sure the players are set and ready to go. Champions Select coming your way in just a moment. I'm excited to see if we see more of that late game scaling team composition we're used to seeing from James and Adam Josh playing the backline AD carry with support that can keep him alive, whether it be the tanky Tom Kench or it be more of those heal shielders with the Ardent Sensor meta. Both of those seem to work relatively well for the University of Utah, and it tends to be that you put that pressure bottom side, maybe 4 to 5 man dives in the early game to set James up for success. If they can't get that, we'll have to see if they're either adapting their draft to play to a different style, or if there's some answer that Oregon State might have either in the draft or a game strategy, putting more pressure on a different lane, or getting by getting a solo ahead, or by answering that kind of aggression and warding out ahead of time to make sure that they can avoid getting multi-man dives in the bottom lane.
Speaking about that, I think that we need to look at the mid lane with that sub with Kenya instead of a Soul Rush. That will be one of the places to look for them.
Yeah, so we're just going to take a little short break here to come back. We're getting Champion Select set up for you guys. Again, this is going to be a best-of-3 match between University of Utah and Oregon State University.
There's an evil inside, just looking way down below. And if I can't hold my breath, then I'm bound to become hollow. Can you say that I disappeared? Can you say that I wasn't there for you when you went into hiding on the front steps of your porch? And I reflected on the memories, but I put out that torch. Hey! Turn around, I feel the breeze over me. You watch your dreams unfold. Let it come around and let it breathe over to the weight. I'll take a chance and let you in. Just take my hand and take me home tonight. We defeat all impossibilities. Yeah, you.
All right, and welcome back. We are here for our first match of the evening, University of Utah versus Oregon State University. We're going to get right into Game 1. Champion Select coming your way in just a moment. This is going to be a best-of-3 match, so it's not just a one-and-done best-of-1. We'll get to see an evolution, a story, if you may, of how these teams will get through. It's going to be a pretty close match. When these two teams met before, then it was a best of 3 as well, and it went 2-0 for ULaw. It was a ULaw matchup. It went 2-0 in favor of University of Utah, and they were not stomps, but they were pretty convincing wins in favor of Utah.
Yeah, they were. And just before our little break, I know that you mentioned Oregon State needing to have a strategy to kind of combat the bottom lane of University of Utah. And one of those strategies you said was to focus on a different lane, get a solo lane ahead. And I think that place might be the mid lane. We haven't had a lot of observation of Kenya's gameplay because Soul Rush is normally their starter, and so seeing Kenya here, we're not as familiar with his playstyle. We've looked at some recent games and things, and he isn't quite in that roaming style that Soul Rush normally plays. He's going to be a little bit more stationary, and so that might be their way in. We've talked about jungle mid synergy, reincarnation. If he visits that mid lane, maybe that might be the place to put their pressure.
Yeah, and we'll take a look at the lineups here for these two teams, show you where the subs are. We're used to seeing Soul Rush in the mid here for University of Utah, but it is going to be the sub in Kenya here. He's the sub for mid for University of Utah. Different champion pool, different play style, as you were mentioning. We'll have to see if that changes the way they draft, and of course if it changes the way that University of Utah will play, especially that early to mid game where they tend to put their focus on the bottom side, and some of that can come from what would normally be Soul Rush's pressure in mid and rotations down to the bottom lane. But if Kenya plays different champions that don't have that push priority, or if he plays things that will not have a favorable matchup based on what they prioritize for the draft, it could be that they don't have the same kind of pressure in mid, whether by design or otherwise, and then of course we'll have to play to that strength or weakness however things do play out. It's a lot of speculation at this point.
Oh, for sure. But more things that we can talk about is the similarities between champion pools and the dichotomy between them as well.
Right.
Up in the top lane, some really popular picks between both of these players in Zoology and Swish, the likes of Gnar and Shen. Those are both really popular picks for both of these guys.
Yeah, Swish a little more comfortable playing tankier initiation type champions, and a little less than Zoologist, who will favor a little bit more of the fighters. Shen and the likes, Gnar, those types of champions do fit that kind of style a little bit, but even more so, Zoologists will sometimes favor Jace, Camille, those types of champions where he can be a little bit more aggressive. Now we'll have to see if he can deal enough of that kind of damage, that kind of pressure, create that much pressure to create problems for Swish, but Swish is pretty good about playing tanks, knowing that he's not built to win early fights necessarily, and then of course still doing precisely what his team needs to, whether it be the teleport plays or keeping up in CS to stay relevant for team fights that'll erupt around objectives through the mid game and just playing it safe until then. Swish, pretty consistent, but it's always going to be those tanky initiation, sometimes in the neighborhood of the Gnar type split push, but generally speaking, you're going to see him on those tanks.
Right, for sure. And another thing you brought up is the difference between a fighter and a tank, but what we need to talk about with that is what it does to a team comp. Because down in the bot side, if you have a fighter in the top lane, you need to have the likes of Alistar or Braum or something like that as your support. Otherwise, you're going to have zero front line. Fighters aren't meant to be your main engage. And so I think that would actually favor Adam Josh. He's more familiar with those kind of champions from what we've seen in the history and everything like that, whereas the support on Oregon State likes more of the shieldy champions, the likes of Lulu and Janna and things like that.
Whereas Adam Josh is comfortable with those tanky initiations. So I would be excited to see if Adam Josh can secure some of those champions, if the draft goes that way, especially if it's, you would hope that that's in the cards, so to speak, for the draft for University of Utah. I expect, though, especially as we've seen in competitive history recently, from what you and I have casted together, recent ULAL matchups, their histories, in competitive play, a lot of people are willing to ban out that Alistar at the very least from Adam Josh, if not the Tom Kench as well. Sometimes even go so far as to ban Braum as well.
Yeah, and, great on Adam Josh, drawing the bans, especially in a role. I think a support is a really underrated role.
Yeah.
You as a support main, I'm sure you agree.
Represent.
There is so much that these guys do. It's more than I don't remember if you were playing in Season 3. Were you playing back then? Yeah, okay. Do you remember when it was just get your gold generation item, buy wards, and don't die?
Yes, I love lighting up the map like a Christmas tree. Just so much vision that there's no way your team gets caught off guard. Now, of course, that's really expensive. You basically get to build nothing other than Moby boots and, fill your inventory with green wards and pink wards and kind of just run around. But that was kind of the job, right?
Right. And
essentially, the extension of that's come here all the way into Season 8 is it's the support's job to make sure your team is taking the fights they want to take. Sometimes that comes in the form of you being a tanky initiation champion, where it's not so much about the vision and denying the enemy what they want to do, so much as it is instantly creating your own opportunities. Or, on the flip side, if you are a heal shielder, disengaging fights you don't want to take.
Precisely, and that's what I was talking about, was the evolution of that role. It's so much more important now. And it looks like we are in picks and bans.
Yeah, here we are into Champion Select again. This is going to be Game 1 of Oregon State University versus University of Utah. You can see we'll get those bans coming through shortly. I expect to see a lot of, at least a handful of jungle bans, perhaps a handful of, or a couple at the very least, of support bans coming at the Adam Josh for support like we just talked about, because he does put a lot of pressure on the enemy team to ban out his champion pool, because when he's comfortable, he keeps James comfortable, and James's champion pool seems to be too wide to ban out, so it's not worth putting all of that effort into. So when you can ban out Adam Josh, it puts James in a less comfortable position if you're going to put that kind of pressure onto the bottom lane for University of Utah, when normally that's where they want to excel. That's where they want their pressure to shine. That's where they want to snowball their advantages from. So if you ban out Adam Josh, or at least put a couple of bans towards him, that'll help you to maybe ease up that pressure or make it a little bit more difficult for James and Adam Josh to kind of take things and roll with it.
Precisely. But then we do see that, in fact, they banned all of the junglers, and then lock in their own. Very interesting there.
It is really interesting because Kraton plays pretty much exactly what's in the meta, and when you have a player that does that, it ends up being easy to ban out, because you're going to ban out what's strong anyway, unless, of course, you're playing against a one-trick, then you just ban them, and then they're uncomfortable playing whatever is meta. But the cool thing about Kraton is that he is, I mean, it's almost derogatory to say meta slave, but that's kind of how he plays. He plays to what the team needs him to do, and he's very good at that. And so banning out basically all meta champions and picking the only remaining one is a good strategy on blue side. So I honestly commend Oregon State for doing that, getting the highest priority jungler. But what they did leave up was, we talked about it, the Alistar coming through here for Adam Josh. That's that tanky initiation that he's very comfortable starting fights on.
And then pairing it with the Tristana we see going in for James, you first lock that Alistar. It's a great move, it's a great champion, it's a great way to get your team in the door without giving away your jungle pick or your top lane pick, because those can be a lot more influential, especially now. Oh, well, that got the... It's so nice to have the Alistar there, and then James going to complement it really well with the Tristana. But then moving back over to Oregon State, we see a tanky initiator like Braum.
Yeah, and actually going to be able to block a lot of damage. If Tristana's your only damage source at this point, then the Unbreakable can do a lot to stop that, especially because once Cataclysm comes through and he locks some people down, that makes it very easy, because the fight is so contained, for Braum to choose precisely where he wants to be when he throws that shield up. And then, of course, I like this third pick here for Oregon State. They take the Corki, put it in mid. It's a decent blind pick mid because there's not a lot of things that can punish a ranged marksman essentially in the mid lane other than jungle matchups. And when you ban out that much from the jungle, a lot of those initiation jump on you champions, there's not a lot left to catch out a marksman in mid. So this draft evolving pretty well for Oregon State despite Utah getting pretty much what they would hope for in their bottom lane.
Right. And they did get what they wanted in the bottom lane. I'm interested in the Nunu pick. We watched Kraton play it once, and it wasn't to great success, let's say. And so I'm wondering if that's something he's been practicing and something that we're going to see improvement with, especially with the if we're going to see the what is it called, the one where you break the attack speed barrier, the rune on Tristana with her Q and a blood boil breaking the attack speed barrier. Those turrets are just going to melt. Everything like that. That's one of the reasons you picked the Tristana is her wave clear and her ability to destroy turrets.
Yeah, there's not a lot that was left from the jungle. Nunu kind of the next in line to a degree. I mean, there's more fighter types you could see come through.
Like
Warwick
Gragas.
maybe. Gragas is a good one up there. Same thing with Xinjiao even. It's a little more aggressive. Yeah. But the Nunu pick's definitely going to be strong. Interesting to see them choose it despite Azir coming through in the first ban rotation. But we should see it do a lot for James's ability to DPS. Interesting to see Victor locked in. It's been a long time since we ever saw Victor make it through into some competitive play.
Yeah, and this is going to play exactly to what you and I were talking about earlier about Kenya's play style. He's more of a team fighter mage. He's not like the long range or the roamers or anything that his higher play champions are like Ryze and Vladimir, just like Victor, who want to be in the fight, dealing the damage, getting the heals in the case of Vladimir, and the shields from Victor's Q, which actually that just got a recent buff, did it not? The Victor shield where
he gets a bonus shield, 60% bonus shielding on his empowered Q once he chooses to level it up, once he chooses to make it an upgraded spell with his Hex Core. And, of course, he's going to have more damage overall with the buffs to his spells. I'm interested to talk a little bit more. I know I'm kind of hitting this over and over, but the Nunu pick, interestingly enough, when these two teams met before just a few weeks ago, it was Kraton playing Nunu in the jungle, again, without Azir.
Yeah.
It was without the Azir still. They did steal it as a jungle pick in the draft away from Best Sniper, who had picked Azir in the draft thus far.
Yeah.
But here, it's not a steal away, but they felt comfortable enough to pick it. It wasn't blind. They undersaw the Jarvan, but they feel like maybe Oregon State doesn't have a way to deal with Nunu's fast, clear jungle pressure and perhaps even objective pressure, where he's very quick at stealing away early dragons, soloing away the Rift Herald very quickly. Perhaps this is part of Utah's strategy to play around jungle Nunu rather than playing aggressively with engage junglers and rotations from mid down to that bottom side. Maybe they just say, we play with our pressure fluctuating around where Nunu needs us to have the pressure for him to play out the entirety of the early game. I'm excited for this matchup. You can see the 2v2 in the bottom lane should be pretty explosive. It's either going to be Winter's Bite into concussive blows, locking someone into a headshot. The Yordle Snap Trap makes me hungry every time I see it. The cupcakes are amazing, but I'm no Yordle. I don't often get trapped by those types of things. But you know what a Yordle is in this match? It's going to be that Tristana, and she hopes not to get trapped by the things that have her namesake. So, but the cow, he's going to take a few bites, I'm sure.
Oh, definitely. You know, not just taking bites of the snap traps, which will hopefully be just to make sure that James doesn't get them, try and remove temptation and such, but rather those headbutt pulverizes. We've seen Adam Josh over and over and over set up magnificent plays with the pulverize, multi-man knockups into the knockback on a crucial target and just soaking so much damage, especially later on when you've got that ultimate, a couple levels in it, all that just percent damage reduction. It's a playmaker, and it's what Adam Josh really needs and excels at playing.
Yeah, and when they met last time, just a few weeks ago, Adam Josh got Alistar in both of their games. And he had double-digit and like solid double digits. I'm talking 10+, 12+ KDAs. KDAs, not just assists, but total KDA on this particular champion. And it was a couple of different marksmen that James ended up getting. You saw they didn't really throw at least Oregon State didn't throw any marksman bans out. It was
No.
just a one Varus ban that came from Utah in this first draft. But leaving the Alistar up, I think, is somewhat of a mistake if you're hoping not to have James just snowball the game away. Because if they fall behind, Alistar can peel for an AD carry pretty well. And if you fall behind, then and they have the Alistar, then Alistar can engage upon you essentially at will.
Yeah. And so what I think that they did with their draft is they decided that they've practiced enough and have the Braum enough to stop the aggression from the bot side. And so I think that they're more comfortable playing that matchup. That's why they banned the 2 key junglers and picked the third and then banned the Azir, which was, I believe they played it, the Utah played it into that last matchup once. And so I think that that's what they were doing, is they were trying to remove that pressure and say, we can handle the bot lane.
That must have been, yeah. They traded the Azir game 1, game 2. First it was on Oregon, and then it was on Utah for their last matchup. Again, it was 2-0 in favor of Utah, so it wasn't the Azir that really made the bump there.
No.
We saw it end up being mostly that bottom lane getting snowballed out of control. And we'll have to see if James can stay ahead. Tristana, not really one of those champions that's known for being a lane bully,
No.
but definitely known for auto-pushing to
Just
either
that
her advantage or disadvantage, because if you can't help but push, you're always going to be kind of far up, and you have to make sure you have the vision to do that safely. And then on the flip side, if you're going to be pushed up, you're going to probably get first turret if
sure.
nothing else changes. And so that's kind of why both these teams, I think, would prioritize the AD carries they did. James is very comfortable on Tristana, and if she can get that push, then she can take down turrets. You know, explosive shot works on turrets. That can really melt those down. But it's also kind of true on the flip side of Caitlyn. Her headshots work on turrets, and
Yeah.
she's got that extra range. She's got spells that help clear the wave. And so when that's the case, you're going to see probably a lot of back and forth vying for lane priority, the push pressure in that bottom lane. And especially because Jarvan has so much more early game pressure on lanes than a Nunu does. If Nunu walks into lane and you don't have gank assist, like a Maokai does, if you don't have gank assist, then you can't really have Nunu show up in your lane to help you. He's not going to really put any pressure unless they're terribly pushed up and he somehow magically gets far behind them.
Yeah, get
and
that
he has a red
absolute
buff.
zero. And yeah.
Yeah, even but like especially pre-6, you mentioned absolute zero as a way to kind of put in the damage to make a difference. But pre-6, you don't have that spell available to you, and especially if you don't have red buff on Nunu, there's actually like a 2%. I want to say.
Oh, yeah. It's
throwing
really
a random
low.
number out there, there's just like no actual ability for Nunu to make a difference in the lanes without him just prioritizing vision. That's what he can do, is track the enemy jungler, create the vision, and know where Jarvan is so that Jarvan can't do what he's designed to do, which is that early gank pressure. But here we are on to Summoner's Rift. My name's Superman. I'm joined here by Jihadra. We're casting for you this best-of-3 match between University of Utah and Oregon State University. This is Game 1.
I wanna talk about some keystones here really quick.
Sure.
One of the comment on Camille, I do believe that it's a better damage source, but I've seen people playing Kleptomancy Camille and getting the Trinity Force very, very early. And I think that it's going to be interesting to see that, because your auto attack already procs your passive with the shield. So I see no reason not to just get free gold and consumables from it if you're already going to be trying to trade aggressively in lane, which is the Camille way. Granted, it was Maokai was a counter pick to it specifically, so I think that just might be a quick adaptation in the keystones as opposed to the more typical Kleptomancy on her.
I think with the nerfs to basically the Inspiration Tree, Spellbook is in there, Kleptomancy is in there. Over the last few patches, the Inspiration basic keystone is going to fall out of favor. It's fallen out of favor rather consistently over the last 2 patches, and so switching to the Comet there for Camille is going to make a little bit of a difference insofar as she still has favorable parts of that tree, the sorcery tree, to go for, and Comet's going to give enough damage for her trading potential, because you know you're going to land the Comet whether or not you're using your slow or your stun, because those are two basic damage abilities. We get an aggressive fight here in the bottom lane.
It looks like just a rocket jump forward for the sake of doing it. No concussive blows passive going to happen, but I'm curious as to what, maybe they were going to try and force a summoner spell. They had level 2 advantage, but it's so early, and with Braum there, they're gonna get the stun.
Yeah, really was likely just that level 2 saying, we want to show we're up to 1 level, we have an additional spell, a lot of additional stats. It makes a huge difference in those first couple levels, so they just want to put the pressure there. But it doesn't net them anything. In fact, it actually, they take bonus damage in the trade. Like, they didn't actually get a favorable trade, so a little bit of a mistake off there. But with Fleet Footwork, you're going to heal that right back up. Same true of S-Poly here. On the Caitlyn, you can see she's rather low, but not really any kill threat on her because she's underneath the turret and she's got that Fleet Footwork to heal back up. And of course, Braum and Alistar both have this Relic Shield, which will give them additional, it's not much because of the changes to Relic Shield, but they'll get additional regeneration from their supports lasting a couple of
For sure. I don't know if anybody else noticed, but on the mini-map, we saw Camille roam down to help with the Wolves, I want to say. Reincarnation getting really low, needing his top laner to come down and help him. That's probably due to the recent nerfs to Jarvan's armor. We see his Raptor camp is gone, so maybe he did the older route, but now we are seeing an engage here. Adam Josh almost going to get stunned. Oh, there it is, the concussive blows. He almost landed the trample onto S-Poly, but that 90 caliber net getting Caitlyn out of the way.
Yeah, a decent trade. That's good. You want to see more of that from Adam Josh. He's landing the good combos and keeping her locked down. But that's just going to be Svoboda, the Braum, precisely what he does well, which is jumps in front, puts the Unbreakable up, and reduces that damage. But yes, excellent point about the Jarvan. Speaking with some coaches from competitive teams, it's pretty standard to say with the nerfs to Jarvan, they don't make a huge difference as long as you avoid a first rotation Raptor camp because they deal so much more damage. But we might have a gank here in the bottom lane. You can see Svoboda getting aggressive.
Jarvan is there. He gets the knock up onto Adam Josh, but James is in the back trying to lay down some damage. He is still stunned. Adam Josh flashes away at the last minute. Kraydon is here. Rocket jump forward from James. He's going to be dealing damage, but the dissuasion from the trap and concussive blows possibility. Good counter gank there from Kraydon.
Yeah, it was lucky that he just happened to be in the area because they didn't really have the vision to be set up for it. Jarvan just shows up, comes to the Tri-Brush and gets a nice initiation right there onto Adam Josh. He gets extremely low, forces the heal out of James, and of course the flash from Adam Josh as well. So a little bit of a trade in summoner spells because exhaust and heal were used on the flip side for Oregon, but unsuccessful overall, I think, for both these teams.
Yeah. But it does give Nunu a chance. We saw him ping onto the Drake right before that all happened. And so they found the vision in there and then cleared it out. But now he might be caught. Jarvan is on his way back to his Raptor camp. He gets the ping. Corki was going to back. Maybe he'll have to flash, and there it is. Ooh, that Foss Bomb almost got him.
Yeah, I mean, he gets pretty low. Once again, it's those Raptors. They're going to deal a lot of damage early. And so if you're not going to have the safety to do it, you're not sure you can. If you don't have Consume and Smite both up, you're not going to do it very quickly. He had used Consume in the river. Smite was on cooldown for a little bit. And so it takes him a little bit to get those cooldowns back up. So he gets pretty low. And his flash is down. That's a little bit awkward of pathing. I think if you see Jarvan alone walking at you right there, you should just walk straight into the river because then Kenya can actually rotate to you faster than the Corki can. Instead of walking as he did right up next to Best Sniper, and Best Sniper here on the Corki gets a nice force of that flash.
Yeah. So now we've been seeing a lot of what's going on in the bot lane. We see the advantage definitely going the way of Tristana, probably because of that just natural pushing that happens. But I want to talk about top lane now because Maokai was just the counter pick, the tanky anti-initiation counter pick to the Camille, and is ahead. Got the teleport back into lane right as they were about even, and now got a whole 2 waves alone without Camille there. And so it's good news for the University of Utah that that pick is going to be working out for them. Good everything so far. Their solo laners, their jungler are doing exactly what they need to be doing.
What that does tell you, though, is that because Zuel just elected to walk back to lane instead of teleporting to match Swish, that they're hoping to use the teleport on the bottom side. And so you'll see it's likely going to be a recall here pretty soon from the bottom lane of Oregon State. they'll set up, buy some wards, try and secure their vision and push back up so that they can get some deep wards that'll allow for that teleport play to be made. The interesting thing here, though, is they have to do that within the window of time that Swish's teleport is down. Otherwise, it was just a waste, and Zoologist falls behind. This is an interesting fight, though, in the top lane. It's pretty close so far.
It is close. There's the teleport from Corki. He will be there right as Kenya arrives. You're going to throw down that gravity field, but it looks like a fight in the bot side. First blood going to Reincarnation. Now James is all alone. I don't think he has the rocket jump. Reincarnation has the red buff, dealing a lot of damage, getting all those auto attacks, but he's taking minion aggro. Will it be enough? Flash forward from Svoboda, and they get 2 kills on bottom for Reincarnation.
A really close trade there. You can see auto attack after auto attack after auto attack. James playing till the last breath without his summoner spells, low on mana, but he ends up trading, he ends up not getting a kill. So close with the flash play there from Svoboda. Flashing in front, giving that Guardian Shield to make the difference. Really well played there, and it did end up being Zoologist falling in the top lane to the nice roam there from Kenya. Swish get that started. The fight started off pretty well for them, so it worked out pretty well for both teams. Ends up being a 2-for-1 overall across the entire Summoner's Rift in favor of OSU. With a nice gank in the bottom lane, I'd love to see how that played out. I want to see both these replays if we can get them on your screen shortly. It was pretty close. Both of these fights were really close.
Yeah, and so maybe something to say. We know that Oregon State came out ahead kill-wise, but let's look at summoner spells because a lot of those were burned. Here in the bot lane, the first one is the ultimate from Jarvan, and they're fighting. James trying to get it, but Adam Josh stuck in there so long. There was the flash from Adam Josh. Now he doesn't have the mana to get that jump, and the red buff is slowing him down so much. But look how close this was. And then he flash forward and blocks. Fantastic play right there from the Jarvan.
Yeah, it's like extremely unlikely that James doesn't at least trade kills there with the minions finishing Jarvan off there if Braum doesn't show up. But it was a nice flash too by S-Poly to get away from the possibility of James getting a kill. And if he had the mana, to be able to have the cooldown reset for his jump for him to get out of dodge after securing a kill. But Caitlyn gets away, he doesn't get the reset, he's in a compromised position, low mana, low health, no summoner spells, and he ends up falling. So really well played by both these teams. And if we look at the gold overall, despite being up 2 kills and having got first blood in the bottom lane, it's still going to be a 700 gold lead. That's nothing to scoff at. A 700 gold lead in favor of Utah. That's just those farm numbers and the jungle farm difference, mid lane farm difference. Bottom lane's a little bit, but not as much as these solo lanes are up over their matchups.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see that. 20 CS leads in all 3 sides of the top. But there we see an engaged Adam Josh. I don't know if that was well advised. They are going to have 4 there. There is the knock-up onto Kenya. And the jump, Kraydon is channeling the Absolute Zero. Not enough damage. Adam Josh jumps in. He wants to get some stuns. It looks like a good knock-up there. Camille jumps in onto James, trying to get him in the Hex Tech Ultimatum. A lot of damage onto Adam Josh. Now double kill for Nunu up in the mid of the, up in the lane. Kind of ran away from the fight and got 2 of them.
Yeah, it was those key players down in the river that were just fighting back and forth. You saw Hextech Ultimatum go down onto James, and he had to back off. Kenya, down to 100 and some odd health, had to run away from the fight and use his own heal to make sure he got that distance. And then James just fighting for his life and waiting until Adam Josh's cooldowns came back up to knock away the people he was having to deal with. But it ends up being Nunu just running people down. You saw him channel almost a complete full channel of Absolute Zero and then following people with his red buff. It's a lot of damage. It takes people by surprise when Nunu can just walk at you, run at you, and even if he doesn't have a red buff, that Ice Blast can just slow you ridiculously.
So annoying. But it turns into first turret for Utah. Fantastic fight, fantastic disengage from what was started by, oh, I guess it was technically Adam Josh jumping over on a couple of Oregon State members, but then it was Reincarnation that went full on to Kenya that sparked the rest of that fight. And so, you know, good turnaround from the Utes to punish that over-aggression because they may have had more kills, but they were lower on the gold. And so they didn't have the items. They didn't have everything they needed to actually make that fight work.
Yeah, and I like this choice here by OSU to try and clear out as much vision as they can. There's less than a minute before the second Infernal will spawn. Remember, the first was snuck there by Kraton early on in this game. But Nunu very good at that objective focus. So you can see that he got a lot of that, a little bit aggressive here in the mid lane. Adam Josh going to try and turn it back around.
James does get low, but you know, Adam Josh always there, always ready to protect his carry. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's going to be both these teams focusing towards that bottom side river. You can see that Kenya's here going to try and push the wave out. We already saw the first turret fall after that fight in the bottom lane, after the fight in the river, really, where James, again, Tristana, really strong at pushing turrets, gets that bomb to go off, takes first brick, and that's going to increase that gold lead to now a comfortable 3,000 or so. So keeping the pressure bottom lane will allow them to open up vision. You can see in this. Okay, they're not quite fighting yet. I was getting ready, but you can see on the minimap that there's a lot of vision for OSU. Not so much on the bottom side here for Utah. Despite them having lane priority, they just don't have vision control just yet, as they're going to start to. And this is the perfect time to do it. The Dragon's alive. You get a pink ward in the pit. You get a pink wards around you, and you try and clear it up. You got TP available for Swish, but not for Zoologist. So this could, unless something perfect happens for OSU, they should not contest this. This is a little scary.
There is the contest, but you can't outsmite a consume smite. Absolute zero. Best sniper gets caught. He is slowed by the red buff, and just they ran in blind to all of the damage for literally nothing.
Yeah, I'm cringing a little bit at this point. One, you don't have teleport for both of for the top lanes, right? You don't have it to match Swish if Swish decides to show up. But more importantly, as you mentioned, the vision's not there. There's a pink in the pit. You have to use Jarvan flag for vision. And when that's there, your only option is to go in, try and steal it from a Nunu who has two sources of true damage for an objective, and then try and flash out. I don't think it's worth it to try and get what's unlikely to be a steal in the first place that you would have to use a flash to get away from in the end anyway. There wasn't a blast plant for them to use to get over. It would have to be the flag and drive for the Jarvan. And then to follow that with the Corky package was a little reminiscent of Tyler 1 to me.
Oh, man, there it is. References are there. It was too much, I think is what it was. They were so optimistic that they forgot that Nunu has the consume. It's so much true damage. Let's see, where is he right now? He's level 9. That means he's got 3 to 4 levels in that spell already. That's going to be, I want to say, 700-ish or so true damage in addition to his smite.
It depends on the level. If he's maxing it, he's now at level 9, then he's going to have over 1,000 true damage to minions already just from his consume, and the smite's going to be sitting around there at like 600 or so.
And so that's what I was saying. Just looking at the levels, we know that he's ahead. You know that that's the strategy with Nunu. You get your consume up so that you can't lose an objective. It's so that you can invade, all those kind of things, and they just put so much onto it. But I don't want to talk about that anymore because James is just a turret-pushing monster.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be the third turret now in favor of Utah to 0. The 2 turrets already gone from the bottom lane. It must have been an extended push from Kenya down there that just ended up netting him a turret from the wasted time at Dragon, essentially. But nice engage here from Adam Josh. It's just a really tanky Braum.
Yeah, and it's actually deceptive how tanky he can be, but this is also deceptive. Reincarnation is there. There's the ult from both Jarvan and Braum. James gets out so far, but he isn't exhausted and going to get hit with a concussive blow. Swish is now up there. Adam Josh zoning off too, but now it's going to be a 3v1 as Boda goes down to Swish, and here comes the rest of the Utah team ready to fight all over. They are always where they need to be.
Yeah, nice rotation from them. Really well played by them overall. Here's going to be a Bramble initiation. They don't have a wave though. You can see they're tanking up the turret. That's just not going to be much. That's a lot of damage, though.
That crowd control stacking was insane, getting the root into the stun from the gravity field and all that damage from Victor. Kenya showing why he picked up the Victor. Super high amounts of damage coming out of this guy. He's just barely level 11. He's up in the CS. He's got his Hex Core and just a Sheen, and that was insane.
Yeah, and once again, you're going to see more of that neutral objective focus. That Gold League is up to 7,000. And we're only 17 minutes into the game here. They're going to get that Rift Herald a couple minutes before it would be despawning. Going to use that to get even more turrets for them, which will increase that gold lead even further in a team composition that already scales really, really well. OSU needs to stop taking these fights. They need to stop engaging on fights that they can't instantly burst out. Now, I can't fault them for trying to get the catch onto James and Adam Josh in the top lane over there.
Was good.
Because they did get them when they were alone. They just simply didn't have everybody on their team for OSU in the right exact place at the exact moment for Jarvan's engage to make that difference. You saw how low James got. The exhaust came through. He almost died to what would have been a Caitlyn ace in the hole had it not been body blocked by Adam Josh. It would have been an extremely close call. So it forced the heal, it forced the ignite. So you're getting some summoner spells, meaning you're taking close to the right fights, but when you're down this much gold, you can't just take close to the right fights. You can only take the perfect fights. And that takes setting up your vision, making sure your spells are ready, making sure that they don't have, that your opponents don't have the spells that they need, waiting out rocket jump, waiting out flash, making sure that you know when and where you can take these fights.
And it looks like they are going to get their final turret in the mid. Will the Rift Herald need? Yes. Okay, so the last hit does go in. Still a pretty healthy Rift Herald, going to deal a decent chunk because it is based on current health. Gets about a quarter of it, and look at all that damage here. Now Absolute Zero is channeled. There's an ace in the hole going to go in onto James. Meanwhile, Zoologist is almost dead. I take it back. He is dead. Reincarnation has to flash over the wall. There's the Braum ultimate to try and disengage, but then a flash forward from the Maokai. All the damage from James. That's going to be another kill. A knockback for Adam Josh. Jump forward from James, and everyone everywhere is just killing all the people. That is an ace in favor of the Utah Utes.
Yeah, just a one-at-a-time team fight. Peeling for James. You can see him repositioning time and time again with people coming to his aid. As soon as he jumps away from the Camille, then you see Jarvan try and get onto him. And as soon as Jarvan tries to get onto him, then you see Maokai show up from the flank and defend this late game carry. James here on Tristana getting a multi-kill for himself in that fight. And you can see the kills stacking up for the Nunu. Kraydon here doing work. He's just getting those last hits as he chases people down.
It's good to see that he's been practicing that. Like I said, it wasn't to great effect the first time we saw it, but now look at this guy. He's insane.
Yeah, James taking ace in the hole of the face, nothing to worry about as he's got that shield to start the fight off with. Then you can see he's just auto-attacking. He's going to jump forward, get real aggressive, get right in people's faces. His team's tanking up the turret. He's going to get last hits, and then you can see the nice flank from Kenya as he comes up off the side after pushing the bottom lane, letting James get those resets, locking people down as they try to run away from the fight. Really just great positioning from all members here of University of Utah, picking off members, using their gold lead to suffocate, really, OSU in this 5v5. So really well played. As you can see, there's going to be one more dragon. That's going to be the fourth neutral objective in their favor. This new pick is working out well for them.
It is, and what a great way to showcase it, right? Right at the beginning of this series, this best of three, you lock it in first rotation. You say, I am confident in this, or I'm going to match your Jarvan aggression with the play style of the support Nunu, and it's working wonders. He hasn't visited the top lane, but look at Camille. Still no completed item, and Swish, 1v however many, just kept everyone away. And now the fight is there. The laser is blocked, but then the Chaos Storm is in. An immediate knockup, so Kraydon can't channel an Absolute Zero. But Adam Josh gets the stun, and now Zoologist wants to join the fight. He gets hit by Maokai and rooted up. All the damage from the carries. Kenya and James take him out. Best sniper needs to be careful because James is in on to that one. That's the second inhibitor going down, and they're looking to push for this Nexus.
Yeah, there's the two super minions from the mid lane that are already stacked on the top side. There's going to be two quick Nexus turrets. They're on to the Nexus. This is going to be a pretty convincing win. 1-0 in favor of University of Utah. OSU falling, honestly, in domino fashion. It was one turret after another, after another, after another. Just slow, methodical, systematic destruction here by University of Utah. I didn't expect it to go so cleanly.
Yeah,
with some of the hiccups happening early. You saw that James and Adam Josh got ganked early, kind of had to lose some summoner spells. They died first blood, right? It seems a little bit messy from what we're used to seeing from a team that puts so many of their eggs in the basket that is bottom lane.
Right.
Kind of messy. But it ended up being that Nunu's pressure on essentially the whole map ended up paying off. Neutral objective after neutral objective, two quick infernal drakes, and then turrets just fell one after another, increasing that gold lead. 1,000 at a time, essentially.
I think a great lesson to come out of this is a lot of people say it's always the jungler's fault. You didn't gank my lane. I got behind. But what we saw here was him doing map stuff while the lane, even the bot lane, getting ganked by Jarvan 2-3 times before the team fighting phase actually started. They kept their cool. They stayed even. And that's what won them the game. It was the jungler doing jungle things, not paying attention to the lane. And so I think we can all appreciate just how key Kraydon was to the game without visiting a lane.
Yeah, and that's the new gameplay. It's not that you want to gank lanes. It's not that you want to make a difference in 2v2s or 1v1s. It's that you are in a 1v1 against the enemy jungler, and you just want to ruin his entire day. And if you can do that, you're doing your job, and you're doing it well. So we'll have to see if more of the same happens. It's time for a break to let these two teams prepare for Game 2. After the break, we'll see if OSU can bounce back and take a win against the University of Utah in this best of 3. We'll be right back with more League of Legends action. The Pacific Alliance of Collegiate Gamers returns right after this.
looking way down below. And if I can't hold my breath, then I'm bound to become hollow. Can you say that I disappeared? Can you say that I wasn't there for you when you went into hiding on the front steps of your porch? And I reflected on the memories, but I put out that torch. Hey! But I put out that torch. You make me feel like home. You turn around, I feel the breeze over me.
All right, and welcome back to Week 1, Day 2 of the Pacific Alliance of Collegiate Gamers League of Legends Spring Tournament. Before the break, we saw University of Utah strike the first blow in this best of 3, setting them up for match point if this second game goes their way against Oregon State. So we'll see how that goes. We'll get right underway into draft phase as soon as the players are ready.
I'm stoked. I'm super excited for this. I want to see a couple of changes on the side of OSU. They tried to ban out the jungler and just gave Utah a different strategy to play. It was really interesting to see that, and it wasn't quite what they were expecting, I don't think.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to ban that many junglers and not expect the Nunu or not really have a strategy against it, especially knowing that just a few weeks ago we did see Nunu played by Utah against Oregon State. So they should have known that it's one of those picks that they're not used to, or at least they struggle with for whatever reason. So to ban out so many junglers and not expect that, not have a plan for it, was a little bit of a misstep there. But we are here into Champions League. We can see those first bans coming through. The Alistar right off the table.
Get
smart
that
move.
outta here.
Yeah, smart move here from Oregon State.
And I think it more than just looking back on the history of it, just that one game alone, Alistar set up almost all of those fights. It was just insane how much pressure Adam Josh was able to put on not only his lane, but then the later team fights all over the map just by being that champion. So I like that ban. Get it out because it's not worth fighting right now. But then follow-ups, for GP, a good ban overall just because of the way he scales. But then there it is. 3 bans in the jungle, getting Jarvan and Ivern and Zac all out of the way. This game and this match have become so focused on what the junglers are and aren't able to do.
And there's the 4th jungle ban. There you go. The Nunu banned out as well. They're kind of just banning out what they feel were what they've struggled against in the past. And honestly, University of Utah doing the same. They ban out the Ivern, most played by Reincarnation, champion overall. And then, of course, they ban out the Jarvan, who honestly played really well in the early game.
Yeah.
Set them up for possible success. And then, of course, it was just the Nunu running rampant all over the Rift, doing whatever the heck he pleased. So banning the Jarvan, going to not give them that option, but that leaves Sejuani open. Expect to see that locked in. There's not a lot of other junglers on the table that remain in that top 3, top 4, top 5 even slot, because you got 4 of them banned out. There's only the 1 left. First lock in, though, the Braum for Adam Josh, despite other picks like Tom Kench or maybe some heal shields being available. So they steal away the Braum.
Now, I'm really confused because why wouldn't you pick the Sejuani? You're running out of jungler picks. We know that Kraydon plays it, so why not pick the Sejuani first? But I mean, Adam Josh playing the Braum is still a good thing to do. And we see Zoologist grabbing that Sejuani first pick there as well. So, just like you were saying, there are only so many great junglers right now in the meta. And
So they do steal away the Tristana, and with not many junglers left, there's really only the aggressive ones left. They've stolen now essentially 2 picks that are high priority for University of Utah. Oregon State has snatched them away. And if all right, so they pick Sejuani away, leaving only aggressive junglers. So I think that'll explain why they picked the Braum first, because they need to have the tank initiation, and there's not many of those left that are high on the tier list right now.
Right.
When Alistar's off the table. And so if you have to take an aggressive jungler, you want the defensive / initiation style from your support. Prioritize the Braum so it can't get stolen away. and then you take the aggressive top and jungle together of the Gnar blind, but Shyvana into the Sejuani will be able to take those fights.
I like it. I like the way they set that up. It's all just the sheer fighting power of Braum and Gnar together. It's just so much gets stopped and blocked from the likes of Braum, and then Mega Gnar is the most valuable team fight champ in the game. And so you complement that with, like you said, the aggression from a jungler like Shyvana. I love it. But the Jace pick, kind of a counter to the Gnar in the earlier parts of the game.
Yeah, he's going to outtrade the Gnar early on, and then it's actually going to be really good, I think, for OSU, considering that Jace is Zoologist's most played champion overall, bar none, really. Like, the Gnar is a close second, but that tells you he knows the matchup pretty well. Not only is he getting his favorite champion, but he's playing against his second favorite, meaning he has a pretty deep understanding of both of these and the matchup between them, that he should be comfortable taking in what is a matchup that's generally in his favor on Jace.
Right. And then I like the next bans, because Oregon State said, well, we have our AD carry, you don't, so let's ban two of them. Varus and Kog'Maw, two popular James picks, two very strong meta champions, and I think it was well thought out. You know, limit that champion pool. But then it's answered with the Lulu ban, because again, no support pick from OSU, and then the Shen, probably also a support ban.
It's got to be.
Because they had already locked in the Jace. Unless they play that mid. I mean, is that still a thing?
No.
Okay,
No
it's not a
possible
thing.
way you play Shen in the mid.
But then the Taric lock-in I like a lot.
The only way you see Shen come through there, other than support, would be to have Shen either in jungle or top, move Sejuani to whichever one Shen isn't, and then put Jace in mid. But I don't think we'd see that happen. It's a little crazy to think. They do lock in the Taric, so you know that that's going to be their support. We have a pretty good idea here. It's only mid available unless the Jace is a flex. Going to come through here. But Adam Josh, the last lock-in here, he's going to pick up Kenya's pick here. That's a really strong composition now for University of Utah. But honestly, while each of these individual champions for University of Utah are strong picks in their own right, what's weird to me is there's not really a huge rhyme or reason to their team composition overall.
Yeah.
Unless they're massively ahead in gold. Because they're not really great at, like, doing a 4-1 split unless they're having, so Kenya here on Azir can't split alone. That's a given. And you can't really have Swish split against Zoologist because Gnar's going to lose that matchup, especially the later the game goes. There's just too much damage that's going to come through from the Jace, right? So if that's the case, then you know that the 4-1 split is definitely in favor of Oregon State. And in 5v5 situations, when you have a Taric ult, an Annie ultimate, a Sejuani ultimate, and two backline carries from the Tristana and the Jace, there's a lot better of a 5v5, it looks like. Again, barring a massive gold lead for Utah, it looks a lot better in the 5v5 as well. 4-1 split in their favor, 5v5 in their favor for Oregon State. I like their draft a lot better, despite, I mean, I'm not a fan of Utah's draft, simply because these are all top tier picks in their respective roles, but there's not a lot of cohesion. It's kind of, I view this for Utah as a win lane, win game competition. And it can go in their favor because they can win these lanes. Like, you're definitely winning bottom lane with the Ezreal pick here. Even though it's been nerfed over and over, you just have more of an ability to poke out. You're gonna drain the mana from Taric if he's gonna keep Tristana healthy or himself healthy with the poke that'll come through from James here on the Ezreal. And if that's not the case, you're just gonna get killed if you're not using your mana to heal up.
Right.
So it's a little bit scary for Oregon's laning phase, but even that said, Sejuani ganks a lot better than Shyvana does pre-series.
Yeah, and that speaks to the style we saw last time. When they locked in the Jarvan, that's exactly what Reincarnation was doing. He was ganking immediately. He was in the lanes. He was fighting everybody. He was making sure that his team had some sorts of advantages mid or early in the game. And I think it'll go better with the Sejuani, especially against the Shyvana. She may have, you know, special interactions with the Drake, but she doesn't have a consume like the Nunu does. It won't be as fast, and there won't be nearly as much team fight assistance, you know, that supportive style from the Nunu. And so I like that they grabbed the Sejuani and Shyvana are two different champions. They grabbed the Sejuani first for that early aggression, and then picked the Taric as the support for that team fight, so that if they are aggressed on, they can just Cosmic Radiance and absorb it all, and then follow up again with Sejuani if that wasn't what started the fight.
Yeah, it is simply telegraphed engages that are available for Oregon State. You're either going to have Sejuani, who you can tell when she's initiating on you. You get hit by a huge block of ice. It's kind of hard not to tell.
Right.
Or she's dashing right at your face. And if it's not that, then it's the not so easily predictable, but far more deadly, I would say, Flash Tibbers that can come through from Annie. And if she gets a few items, you can see Kenya getting deleted, James getting deleted, even Swish getting deleted if he only just has like health items and not any magic resist. So it'll have to be a story of the mid lane here, I think, where you'll have to see if Kenya can bully out Best Sniper. I'm not too familiar with this particular matchup, but just from my familiarity with the champions themselves, I imagine it's going to be relatively difficult for Annie early on. She's going to have a ton of pressure when she has her stun up, and especially post 6, because she could potentially 100-0 on Azir. But pre-6, it costs way too much mana for Annie to try and push, when Azir is one of the best early shoving champions in the game.
Yeah. The saving grace for Annie is the range on her Q and the fact that it refunds full mana when you get the kill on a minion. So if Best Sniper just understands that, just waits it out, farms with the Q, and just lets everything happen from afar, then I think he might wait out that early aggression that Azir will have, and will become that menace that you were talking about with, you know, post level 6 and the stuns and amount of damage you build on that champion. You're right. That is a really interesting matchup. I don't think I've ever seen it, actually.
Well, it's been a while since we've ever seen competitive Annie.
Also, yes.
To be honest. But honestly, it'll just be difficult for her in the first place, because while it might not cost her mana to farm with Q, if she wants to use any of her other spells to try and push and not get pushed under turret, then she's going to run in very quickly. Whereas Azir is going to push essentially for free. Obviously, he does have his own mana costs, but they're much, much, much lower than, say, Annie's W. So in that case, he should keep her pushed into turret, which gives him lane priority for those rotations we talked about, perhaps putting extra pressure to the bottom lane, or even the solo lane to maybe get Swish ahead of what would otherwise be a hard matchup for the Gnar. But the other problem with pushing up is, yes, you do get advantage, you get positional advantage in your rotations, but you're also much more susceptible to ganks.
Yeah.
And we just talked about how Reincarnation here, the Sejuani pick, is a lot scarier in the early game than Shyvana is. Shyvana can damage you out if you face check her, for sure. But if you're just walking through the river and she's walking through the river and everybody sees each other, there's not a lot going to be done there. Shyvana's never going to catch up to you so easily without... If she touches you with red buff, you're done.
Right.
But without that, there's not...
Early aggression here. Kranon and Swish invading in. Reincarnation and Zoologist taking a lot of damage. They just took the aggro away from Reincarnation, but Zoologist is so strong to the skies to get the first hits, and Best Sniper has roamed up, saving that first buff for Reincarnation, and now Kranon might be a little behind.
Yeah, it was a little interesting of an invade. I understand the choice to try and pressure that, because if and Reincarnation did do this, if he uses his execute damage, his massive burst damage from his flail and the stack of his passive, if he actually executes that, then he gets a lot of his burst to disappear, and it can actually be that 50-50 smite situation. So that it was okay to consider going for that, but you mentioned Zoologist's damage there was just beginning to be too much, and they might have just donated a first blood even if you steal the buff, so it's not going to be worth it in that case, of course. So backs off. It will slow Kranon down a little bit, but the cool thing about Shyvana is she is rather fast at her clears, and you'll see that despite falling behind simply like the one camp, essentially. She is still down the one camp, but she'll catch up very quickly, I imagine.
Right, and the extra movement speed she gets with the burnout on the W is really important for that as well. Now, as Polly is going to take 2 hits of the concussive blows passive, some nice aggression there, make that 3. James now getting a lot from his Kleptomancer. We saw him pick up first hit. He grabbed a mana push, but now we have to watch here. There's the arcane shift. James is slow. He has to run away. Flash, heal used, but he's underneath the turret, and so that stops the other aggression. That's probably going to take a Mystic shot. He doesn't have the jump forward. Reincarnation is super close. This might be it. Cooldown on the E means James can't go back in and get the stun proc.
Yeah, it just came up at the last second there when he could have gone aggressive onto Sejuani, but he knows. I like the discipline here from James. He knows that heal's still available for S-Poly, and so despite him probably having the damage to take out Reincarnation, it wouldn't be enough if the heal came through. So he doesn't want to put himself in a bad situation if they use the summoner spell, so too risky. Nice disciplined choice and disciplined play there by the Ezreal, but excellent gank timing by Reincarnation.
Yeah.
He does use his own flash, and of course the flash comes out from Svoboda, but that's going to be both summoner spells off of James. Remember, this is typically the player, the star player of University of Utah that they play around and that they rely on to not only get their advantages, but to snowball them as well. A lot of shot calling comes from him in addition to just the advantages that are gained from having such a high-rated player. But if he falls behind, it's much harder to shot call from behind, and it's much harder to play from behind when you don't have just a massive advantage that you're used to having. If you're used to having leads that you just accrue from simple skill difference, then if they keep this kind of pressure and they return to bottom lane knowing that James doesn't have his summoner spells and can shut him down, that could be the success story that we're going to have to see here from OSU if they want to bring this to Game 3.
I like that you bring that up because it seems like their draft plan in game number 1 was just to stay as even as possible in the bot lane and then win somewhere else on the map. But I think their draft changed where they did ban out a lot of AD carries, but now Adam Josh is going to start the concussive blows. That's 4, interrupted the rocket jump. No, it is still there. Ignite is down, jump forward. The Q from Tarek will get the stun. They are dazzled. James wants to get in onto S-Poly because the heal is used, but now he might get stunned himself. S-Poly is there and gets the first blood. Now Adam Josh is alone in a 1v3. He has to get out. He still has his flash. He jumps away and blocks the last bits of damage and makes it out alive.
Elaborate baits is what's going through the minds here for OSU. That's Polly using both of his summoner spells because he gets so freaking low in that tri-brush there, and you're sitting here thinking, all this for a pink ward kill? What are you doing? You're crazy! But it turns out that Reincarnation's still nice. Off in Fog of War to the wing, and he shows up just in time as James arcane shifts forward. The exhaust came through, perfect timing from Svoboda to reduce the damage that James could deal to try and execute S-Poly. Not able to do so, and that ends up netting them first blood. Precisely what I was talking about, them needing to do first blood. James falls, and he's going to fall behind just a few minions. He'll pick those up as he reaches his turret, but he's down that full kill. Tristana, she already went back to pick up her own cull, which means she's going to try and scale very like spikes very quickly into that mid game and complete some core items within short windows of time. But have the BF sword for the lane pressure. When there's no Sheen on the Ezreal, you're winning every single trade for sure. Played equally, the BF sword wins against a tier easily, right? Everybody knows this.
Because tier doesn't give you any sort of damage. It gives you mana and mana regen. But I like how he's buffering every single E to dodge out those stuns from Svoboda. I don't think he's landed a single one on James this entire time because he just waits for the exact moment to jump out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, when he has the information, when he has the vision, James's positioning has been stellar thus far. It's when the jungler shows up unannounced, when they don't know that Reincarnation is there, that he runs into trouble. Because otherwise, it looks like they're winning these fights. It looks like James is able to deal the damage and force some summoner spells away. But it's all those elaborate baits, right? And so it ends up going in favor. James catching back up in CS, getting himself a little bit of lead, but of course there's a lot of minions for S-Poly to take. But that's going to be some Kleptomancy. Again, there, the Arcane Shift, like you mentioned, really well timed there from James.
Well, and they know that they're safe because they have all that vision there up to the Drake, and then they see Shyvana plus Azir is pushed up a little far forward. But
On
now,
vision, though.
they are on the Drake, but they know. So OSU want to go in and fight Kraydon. Adam Josh is there, and so is Kenya. There's the rocket jump away. There is no way they're going to stop it now. James is up for the first aggression, and now a great first Drake for Kraydon and the Utes. It looks like there's a teleport coming in from the backside. Jace wants in. There's a flash. Tibbers, so much damage. There's a jump forward. Emperor's Divide tries to stop it, but there is still a kill onto Kraydon. They are 5 men strong. They want to dive underneath this turret. There is no level 6 anywhere else. Tibbers is tanking up the turret. Reincarnation now in the front lines. A lot of damage. Fantastic play to, you know, say, this is what you get for taking the Drake.
Yeah, I mean, a Mountain Drake is a really valuable one, especially as the game gets later on and you're trying to push down those objectives, trying to get Baron, other dragons even. But you trade it. A dragon for a kill is honestly okay, but you can see that OSU is comfortable and not playing timid, not playing scared from their Game 1 loss. They're ready to take these fights under their conditions. They say, yes, you got the nice rotation, you started the dragon, you're probably going to get it. We can't really steal it from you because you started it at a decent time with, you know, champions there ahead of us. But what we know is that we can take the fight. The good teleport and the flash that I want to see again from this Annie. Here we go. Nice flash on the Tibbers. 3-man. And there's going to be a follow-up stun from the Taric. He gets the kill credit, but you can see the reset capability from the Tristana. Unfortunately, no wave and not really on the same page. They're not going to be able to dive much further as Tibbers isn't the one who begins the tank. It's going to be a little bit of trading tower hits, but you could see the fight they started on their terms goes in their favor. It's now 2-0 in a goal in kill lead, though still at a goal disadvantage. I want to see more of these type of initiations here, and the follow-ups to them from OSU is really a pleasure to watch. The one thing that concerns me for OSU was what happened after that fight. When they tried to, do we dive them? Do we not dive them? Oh, a stun onto James, though.
Ooh, but Unbreakable does stop all the rest of that damage. Adam Josh getting a little low, but, you know, good defense there. That's the first time we've seen Tyrek land the stun onto James, so congratulations to Voboda on that. The mini-game has been started. And speaking of mini-games, I want to talk about communication. On that last engage, we saw Annie flash forward and land the Tibbers. If Zoologist was a little bit more aware, he would have landed the Shock Blast. If we saw it, it was just below hitting another 4 people, and I think they could have netted 2-3 extra kills with that. But now looking up in the jungle up there, it looks like Kraydon might be caught out. He is hit, and he is ulted, but he ulted himself away. He is going to have to fly forward from Zoologist, and another kill for OSU. Just so much going on here. Reincarnation getting really low. Swish about to go Mega. Will he continue to fight? I don't think he wants to fight a 1v2, even with the Mega Gnar form. And no, he doesn't. He's just going to clean the wave.
Yeah, nice catch there. Reincarnation doing work. He's got 3 assists of the 3 total kills.
Oh! But then we missed a kill there. Best Sniper Africa setting up for Svoboda to come in and get a what is that, a total of 2-3 stuns there onto Kenya?
Yeah, one after the other after the other. The cleanse was used in the last fight with the Flash Tibbers onto Tri-Rush. Kenya did use his cleanse to get out of that situation, but when you leave, when you rotate to mid lane as a support, you got to make sure that your AD carry plays safe. It normally is just up to the AD carry to recognize that he's in a 1v2. But whatever happened in the bottom lane ends up just meaning S-Poly gives his life and 2 summoner spells on top of it. Not much was used by James and Adam Josh, just the Ignite to secure that kill.
Yeah, James had used his ult through the middle. He shot that up the middle lane, so it wasn't even part of that unless it hit them first. But let's take a look again here on the mid fight here. Emperor's Divide not doing a whole lot. There's the stun with Tibbers, and then Svoboda walks in and gets the kill. Would have been just a 1-for-1, I would think. And man, fights all over the place. We see
barely
right
back from the replay, and Gnar gets a solo kill in the top lane. Crazy things happening across the rift, but you can see neither one of these teams are scared to be aggressive. They're willing to make the plays. But to speak more about what happened in mid lane on that replay you saw there, it looks actually pretty unlikely to me that Kenya gets that solo kill. He had repositioned his Sand Soldiers prior to ulting, and ended up trying to create the space between him and Best Sniper, and then that means the Sand Soldiers can't deal the damage. But let's take another look at now what happened in bottom lane simultaneously to mid, where Tristan is going to fall here. Yeah, just pushed up too far. Out of mana.
Holy
Heal,
cow.
flash, Winter's Bite, and that's going to be the concussive blows. Ends up being Ignite kill credit, but yeah, that's just, you pushed up too far without your support. It's just a mistake there.
For sure. Oh, and there is the steal. Kraton takes it away from Reincarnation. He has an ult. He's going to get stunned, but he's got damage priority right now. Dodging out the ultimate from Sejuani, but Zoologist is there. Emperor's Divide to stop everything else. Kenya went back in for some reason. There was the flash from Best Sniper to get himself a double kill. Gnar is in there now. Swish, what are you doing up there? He picks up the kill on Reincarnation, but now he's got to be careful. Zoologist is really strong. Red buff on him, going to heal him up a little bit and bounce off of the Krugs, but Annie is still there. No Ghost, no Flash, no ultimate either, but going to try and get a stun. There's a stun onto Best Sniper. Swish flashes away.
Nice job by Swish there. It's that Best Sniper didn't actually have his stun up.
Oh, he got it before the Cosmic Radiance landed. And now that's the stun, and that's going to be a double kill. No, it's not because of the shield. Double kill for James on the bot side. Wow.
Nicely played by the bottom lane. Nicely played by University of Utah members across the board. Other than, I am going to call out Kraton here. That's the second time he gets caught very quickly, one after another, in the enemy jungle on top side, nonetheless, and forces himself. He dies in both of those, and actually baits in Kenya for the second time he gets caught out. It was Kenya just trying to save his life using the soldiers, but there's going to be, okay, there's a problem happening in the top lane, that's for certain. You can see Swish here getting his second solo kill. No jungle pressure. The jungle anti-pressure that had been coming through from Kraton recently seems to not be dissuading Gnar to play aggressively. He's apparently just getting those kills.
Wants the turret, he does pick it up, but gets stunned. He is going to flash away. Kenya being probably a little too aggressive, but he does make it out. He gets the first turret, and it's, I don't want to say clean, but it's solid. And you know what? I really want to know what happened to Jace. He's got the full Youmu's against the not completed Black Cleaver, and yet here it is. He's got, oh, he gets the passive procs there from the W. Look at all that damage. He jumps forward, lands the wallop and the Q, and then throws him into the wall. Perfect layering of spells there.
Yeah, really well played by the Gnar. It's just Jace running out of mana. Even if he has completed items, you gotta have the resource available to you. Might be see a fight happen down here. It is in vision. You can see that now it's a 4v2. There's not members in place. Swish doesn't have teleport.
They need to just leave
You just
this
have
turret.
to back off immediately. You stay close here, you might get flashed on by someone. You can see Reincarnation has his ultimate available, has flash available. Backing off is the correct choice here. That's gonna be the first turret in favor of OSU falling, 6-6 in kills overall. It's really close in gold. 2,000, 3,000 separating is a decent buffer at 16 minutes, but it's actually not that much considering that you have decent scaling for both of these. And we talked about in Champions Select how OSU's composition is built for team fighting, which means they're built for the late game.
Looks
and
like
Kenya might be caught out. He
does.
Flash.
He gets the ultimate in there, but there are 4 members underneath that Sun turret. Summoner heal popped. It does save Best Sniper, but you know, no support in there. He was just alone.
It's a little weird to see this happening. It makes you wonder what's happening on the comms here for University of Utah, where Kenya and Kraton are definitely not on the same page. And they're not on the same page with the rest of their team. They keep getting caught out by multiple members, not just one person and losing a 1v1. There's an excuse for that. You know, you just lost the 1v1. But if you get caught out by multiple people, a nice steal away from Reincarnation is what that looked like. Yes, it was. And it's looked like Kraton getting caught once again, perhaps.
No, I think he saw that Swish was there. He has the red buff, he has the burnout. I think he can get out of it, especially with Swish on the way. And we can see that he has not maxed out that little rage bar there. He is going to be able to get Mega Gnar if a fight ensues. And so, you know, not the best move. Unfortunate that he lost the Scuttle Crab too, but I think that one was a little bit more calculated.
You just got to be really careful here if you're University of Utah. when you have your AD carry pushing bottom lane and getting a turret essentially for free, the last thing you want to do is give something up on the other side of the map. When you're gaining some sort of advantage on one end of the map, you don't need to press the advantage on another side of the map if it means that it could be risky. And it definitely is risky if it means that Kenya dies between two turrets.
Yeah.
It's kind of awkward to see that happening. You know that you just want to have better communication and say, Kenya, we've got pressure bottom lane. You don't need to show up. You don't need to push up. You don't need to be aggro. You just need to make sure that you're not losing anything, which you're definitely not doing if you're pushed up that far. Don't lose anything because we're taking something elsewhere, but he ends up losing something, his own life, because he's just not in the right place at the right time, playing a little too aggressively, trying to push too much when his team is able to get things elsewhere on the map. You need to have a little bit better communication for that to work out.
Now we are in the 3-1-1 pattern where you've got 3 members of the tops of Utah on the top side, 1 in the mid and 1 on the bot. I think that this is the right strategy. We talked about how a 4-1 wouldn't work because the Jace can match the Gnar. Maybe not so much anymore now that we've seen 2-3 solo kills. Yeah. But later on in the game, that's not what you want to see. But this 3-1-1 where they have 2 places of pressure they need to stop, I think that that's really smart from the Utes, trying to separate the Beavers from their team, because that's where they're strong, right? You have the AoE from Sejuani, you have the explosive shots from Tristana, the AoE stuns, and the ult from Tarek. That's all about team fighting. Speaking of team fighting, there's the ultimate. He is going to stop damage. Does he have flash? He gets pulled and knocked up, and he does not make it out. Unable to flash that wall, and Svoboda caught now.
There you go. Really nice choice. And you know what? Props to Svoboda for getting so close to escaping. He was caught out, and that's not something you want to see. But you could see how many extra resources, a couple of ultimates, a flash from Adam Josh that had to be invested there. But the same could be happening to the other support.
Adam Josh is in. James goes in forward. Best sniper, for some reason, just jumps in 1v2. Kraton is chasing, but they make it out. James does slay Reincarnation up on the top side. Rift Herald runs into the turret, and they might take this one. Jace not dealing nearly as much damage as we would expect to see here in 20 minutes. They are continuing to dive. They're pressuring everybody. S-Poly almost goes down, and they're continuing to push the turret. This is going to be the inhibitor turret getting hit by the Rift Herald. They're going to get this turret for free. No kills and repercussion. They're going to get the inhibitor even.
Yeah, 20 minutes. You still have Rift Herald just smashing into these structures. And you have a Mountain Drake as well. Those rotations happen very, very quickly, working out really well. You can see the decision to make this push right here and right now. They got the Rift Herald a long time ago, but the decision to wait and use it now, you can check the inventories of University of Utah. It's these item spikes. You can see Trinity Force plus Muramana already completed here for Ezreal. That was before he caught a couple kills here in this last fight. Is that he has his item breakpoints, and you don't have Infinity Edge completed by Tristana. You don't have anything beyond the Proto Belt and some other pieces here for the biggest member of OSU on that, the Annie. And when she goes for an engage onto the backside, when her team isn't ready to follow up, it might not work out pretty well. It depends. It depends on if Best Sniper actually is so strong enough, so fed enough that she can 100 to 0, or at least 0 out some members of University of Utah, or at least a key member that's necessary. But because she's not at the point where she can do that, it went so poorly, and it didn't work out in their favor. They end up losing not just a couple of deaths, it ends up being their base getting destroyed. So let's take a replay as to how that played out. You can see it looked like Adam Josh getting caught out again, but James goes over the wall right in time for Annie to flash and miss Tibbers. She misses Tibbers onto 2, meaning she's going to get deleted essentially right after having to use Ghost. And you can see James just playing super aggro, being able to take down that jungler, and it just snowballs into them taking the base from there.
Now, Swish does want to catch someone out. He's solo, though, so he's got to be careful. I think the call that they're throwing on the minimap is the right one. They have vision on Sejuani on the bot side. They throw down their control ward. There needs to be defense in the mid lane against the super minion. Sejuani was on the bottom. She just barely got back to base. I think this is perfect to try and take the Baron right now.
Yeah, that's going to be Baron. No problem at all. There were people recalling in vision. They knew that they had at least a significant buffer of time to begin the Baron and take a fight right after. If you know that you have your item breakpoints and that you're stronger in just a 5v5 for this moment with that much of a gold lead, then you can start the Baron knowing that you have a little bit of time. You're going to draw people over. You either get the Baron and they don't contest, or they contest and you probably win the team fight. You can play that properly when you have enough vision. Now, they didn't set up a ton of extra vision, but they had enough. This is an interesting choice.
I don't know if that was the right time to throw that Glacial Prison. Now Baron minions are going to be hitting the turret. Good disengage there. It might have been just to clear the wave. Best Sniper Africa wants to proto belt in, gets the no stun from the Tibbers, and gets hit up with the ultimate from Braum, and then the ult. Oh, Gnar hits 4 people into the wall. The Cosmic Radiance does go down, but as Polly is the only one not hit by it, Zoologist is going to have 2 hits from concussive blows. They're just going to clear this wave and push with the Baron minions.
Yeah, Kenya's got the flank, though. He comes around. He might try and make the play. He did have Flash available. Not going to use the Shurima Shuffle to throw people back. I would have liked to see that.
It would have
right
been
there.
cool.
I think he could have made it happen. There was Flash available for S-Poly, but not for the other couple, so I would have liked to see that happen. But they're going to just press the advantage. That's going to be them pushing into the base. The second inhibitor falling 23 minutes in. There's still plenty of time left on this Baron buff. You can see that their catch potential is actually kind of crazy at this point. It's because of the item breakpoints. It's not because, we talked about champion select, it's not because their champions are built to team fight 5v5. It's because at this point, when you're up 8,000, 9,000 gold, you're able to just press your advantage over and over and over again. And the win condition, essentially, for these team fights is for OSU to get Best Sniper to lock down multiple members and get them low, really low very quickly. But it didn't work out for them.
No, it
And he gets kind of away from the teams, tries to start a fight, but doesn't. And then you can see Gnar shows up to restart things, getting a nice 4-man ultimate into more follow-up from his team. And that's the teamwork really here being cleaned up from University of Utah. They were playing somewhat sloppily. I started calling Kraydon out for his solo invades without the follow-up, not without the support to back it up. Kenya getting caught out in some awkward locations, but it seems like they've taken a breather. They've said, all right, look, despite us making a couple of issues and a few mistakes back and forth, we're going to take 1 step back so we can take 2 steps forward together. And that's what they've been doing for the last 2 minutes here, last 3 minutes, as now they take their 8th turret of the match. They're getting close to that double-digit gold lead as they're pressing on the final lane here, the 3rd and final lane of Summoner's Rift. That's a lot of damage as S-Poly gets so low. Is that going to be enough? Not enough from the True Shot Barrage. You can see they're not afraid to just dive turrets at this point, because as soon as this wave enters the base, you're going to see on your minimap that the other waves are entering as well. This is a Baroned up side wave with super minions in the side. This fight has to be it for OSU.
There's the ultimates down onto key members. Cosmic Radiance going to go down as Polly isn't caught in it and does go down. Zoologist wants to go in onto Swish. He does not have Mega Gnar available. There's the shutdown. Reincarnation running down James, but now he's got to fight Swish, who's dealing % max out damage. Adam Josh gets the resistance is there. Swish is getting up there. He's almost got Mega Gnar. He's got the ultimate. He casts it. He gets it on 3. Throws the rock. He gets a kill. He jumps in. Zoologist is there. He's dealing damage now. Maybe he can get his revenge on Adam Josh. A perfect wallop, but to the skies is buffered, and he picks up a kill.
Wow, what an explosive fight from both of these teams. Back and forth for a little bit there, and then finally OSU finds their footing. They press that advantage, they chase him down, and yes, the Mega Gnar comes through and he gets a nice play to return a kill. He can't get away from a red buff on a chase though. So he does get chased down. It ends up being essentially a 4-for-2 overall in favor of OSU, which is exactly what they need. They save their Nexus turret, an inhibitor respawns just in time to not allow for the double super minions to start spawning in every single wave, giving them at least enough breathing room to maybe contest the next Baron. I don't think that, unless they're there already, which they're not, I don't think they can contest the 4th dragon here. It's going to be the 1st Infernal. They just don't have the vision set up. They don't have everybody in place, whereas University of Utah, they've got 3 people here already. Yes, it's a 3v4 at this point, but the vision is heavily in favor of Utah for now.
Right. Credit to OSU. Last game, they didn't take a single turret, and they only got 2 kills. They are now 9 kills more than that and 2 turrets. They are doing phenomenally in, adjusting their gameplay, and we're even, I think they were ahead at some points, and so it's nice to see that adaptation, to see their level of play go up. I think these Utes did the exact same thing. The poor little beavers still being hunted just like in olden times.
Yeah, less so in the jungle, more so in their own base, though. It's like they're being tracked out of the river and into their own hidey homes. And that's all they've got left, really, is just those 2 Nexus turrets and the inhibitor. Everything else is gone before the Nexus. And so you're going to have to see, Annie's going to have to be able to land the precise ultimate that they need. The last fight did go well. We're going to have to see that happen again. James has to get taken down relatively early in these fights, and you can't start by getting poked out. You can see Zoologist down to half health from just James's poke. If that's going to be how this plays out, how do you engage on him right now if Jace is on your platform?
Well, you can't because Annie doesn't have ult or Proto Belt. Instead, James jumps in, gets the kill despite the Proto Belt launch. There's the ultimate from Braum and from Kraydon, and then the Sejuani ult. Kraydon is not going to go down because Adam Josh is a beast. There's a great Emperor's Divide. There's a wall up to stun Incarceration. Another great Gnawer against the wall. Reincarceration is going to go down. Svoboda gets stunned by the wall up and goes down as well. That is almost an ace for the Utah Utes, and they take 2-0 in this series.
Yeah, in similar fashion, they end up taking a quick victory. It was a little sloppier this time, if I'm being honest. I mean, we saw less team play in the early game, less playing around. I think Kraydon got a little ahead of himself after game 1. He was really feeling confident, being able to invade, steal away camps, just be a nuisance on the new. But it ended up being that Shyvana, who's designed to kind of pick and choose very, very selectively what her fights are, and very much will win the ones that she picks properly. When you get caught out in the wrong locations, you don't have get out of jail free cards that Nunu has.
No.
So despite, actually Kraydon using nice input buffering for Dragon's Descent to create some distance, when you're caught so deep in the enemy jungle, there's no hope for you. So some hiccups, a little messy there in the mid game, but the gold leads ended up being enough to catapult them once the item spikes came through for James to DPS enough to send them to like an early level of late game. I mean, it was barely approaching 30 minutes there. Just the single Baron was enough to break the base. And then from there, just pressing the advantages wherever they needed to rotate to. It was clean late game play from University of Utah, despite them doing pretty poorly in the mid game.
Right, and I think a lot of that has to do with just the caliber of players these guys are. When you're up in the higher levels of play, you need to... you just understand that gold only means things for so long.
Yeah.
A couple kills here, a turret there, that's okay because we have this and this champion, we have this and this advantage. Let's keep our stuff alive. They got all the Drakes. That's extra resistances for Shyvana. Yes. That's pressure on the bot side. That means they were coordinating where they were doing everything. They got all their turrets. They had that amazing Rift Herald play that broke the inhibitor. Yeah. Just all those kind of things. It's not about how bad you do in the beginning, it's how well you do after a bad start.
Yep, and that's the name of the game there for Game 2 of University of Utah versus Oregon State. That's going to be a 2-0 in favor of Utah. Congratulations to them. Really well played near the end of that game there and ends up closing it out for a 2-0 in their favor. We'll be right back with our second match of the evening. It's going to be University of Oregon against University of Colorado in their own best of 3. Coming up your way in just a few minutes, the Pacific Alliance of Collegiate Gamers returns after this.
there's an evil inside. Just look and wait down below. And if I can't hold my breath, then I'm bound to become hollow. Can you say that I've disappeared? Can you say that I wasn't there for you when you went into hiding on the front steps of your porch? And I reflected on the memories, but I put out that torch. Hey! But I put out that torch. But I put out that torch. You make me feel like home. You turn around, I feel the breeze over me. You watch your dreams unfold. Let it come around and let it breathe over me. It's time to go away into the light. I feel the calming energy. I see the darkness coming, and I'm calling you to help me set me free. I'm calling for you. I'm calling for you. I'm calling for you.
Throwing caution to the wind. I'll take a chance and let you in. Just take my hand and take me home tonight. We defeat all impossibilities. Yeah, you and me. We'll take our hearts and run free into the wild.
It's Wednesday night, and we've been enjoying some explosive League of Legends play here. I'm Jake Superman casting Mori, and co-casting with me this evening is Ben Jahadre Sorensen.
I'm having a blast, Superman. OSU versus University of Utah was amazing to watch. I can't wait to get into our second matchup. That's going to be University of Oregon versus University of Colorado.
Should be a good matchup. We'll get that schedule on your screen so you can see what to expect over the next few days. As you can see, Oregon State just fell in a convincing 0-2 loss to the University of Utah. There's a lot there. And you can see Oregon, Colorado just about to be what you see this evening, to be a best of three. We'll see which one of those can take their place in the standings. And then, of course, you can see what to expect heading up next week on Monday and, of course, following later in the evening on Monday with more, of course, Mondays and Wednesdays for League of Legends. You can catch it here on Pacific ACG.
Well, we'll see what that means for these two teams coming in here. We'll see if they can make it up in the standings and everything. But with that, why don't we take a look at their lineup, see these players, who they're going to be, and what lanes they're going to be running here.
Yeah, so we'll bring that on your screens shortly. We'll get that graphic updated for Colorado in just a moment because they did have a few roster swaps. But at least for Oregon, you can see for University of Oregon, we just watched Oregon State, so a couple of teams from Oregon.
Confusing.
But this is University of Oregon. They've got Ragnar the Sexy in the top lane. I like that name. Joe Mickey in the jungle. Vertex in mid with Dapper Dave on AD carry and Jin James on support.
And then opposing them on the red side, you can see Colorado, Bootless Triton, bot with my support running in the jungle, HH Spanky in the mid, Nidalee One Trick running AD carry. That seems kind of awkward. And Not Tanner in support there with him.
Yeah, a little bit of swap there. I feel like should have been in order for the jungle and AD carry picks with bot with my support playing jungle. But then Nidalee One Trick is the AD carry. That's a little odd to see there. But
that reminds me of we watched a game not too long ago. We got to cast one with the name of the team was Please Let Me Play Draven.
Yeah.
And then they picked not Draven.
No, they didn't.
And then OG Blitzcrank was their support, and he picked Braum or something like
that.
And it was really disappointing.
It was like relatively tilting to a caster. I was like, come on, your team's name is Let Me Pick Draven, and you don't pick Draven for AD carry. It was left open to.
It was,
It's just a community game you and I were casting together.
And
it ends up being OG Blitzcrank playing support. So unlike roles being weird here, it was OG Blitzcrank on support, Blitzcrank available, picks like Braum or something.
Yeah,
it
was
like,
something. It was silly.
I want to
see. A lot of fun.
I want to see that. Right, that bottom lane sounds really scary.
It does.
Just
Draven
like
Blitzcrank.
Playing some casual League of Legends to see Draven Blitzcrank. You get pulled, you're done, and you're like donating a ton of gold.
Oh, for sure. Especially with that passive from Draven, getting the extra gold when he gets his stacks of adoration in and everything. And like, how do you get out of that? Grab, knock up, silence, knock aside. That's what, 5 auto attacks from Draven by that point when you have
5
ultimates?
too many.
Yeah, 5 too many for sure.
Any auto attack from Draven will hurt. But
yeah, it's true.
We're waiting the players to just get into their lobby here and get things up for Champion Select. Again, this is going to be a best of 3 match between University of Colorado and University of Oregon. Not to be confused with Oregon State, which we just saw minutes ago.
Right, beavers and ducks. They're completely different.
They both like water, though.
Okay, you know, you're making it easier to get them confused.
Oh yeah, my bad.
Yeah, birds and mammals.
What if they go in the river in any of these games? Do they get like a buff?
They should, honestly. I think so.
They all get the water walking rune for like free.
Oh my gosh.
Or it like auto selects it for them. You know, like on the ARAM map, if you try and take Zombie Ward, then it changes it to Poro.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
So like if that's the case, do you get auto swapped to water walking if you just happen to be on one of Oregon's teams? But enough with that. We're here into Champion Select, and once again, with a little bit of a delay here for the graphics, we'll get those updated for you for Colorado and for University of Oregon.
Not Oregon State.
No.
Yeah.
Just to mess us all up
I'm
once
pretty
more.
sure that's what it is. We're being trolled by our production team a little bit.
Yeah, we're trolling each other, too.
Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff.
If they get water walking, what do we get as casters?
We would have to get. There's no. I was trying to think. There was an old mastery. It was like something about a shout. And that would have been cool, but there isn't a rune about that anymore.
No, not that comes to mind.
Would it be like Predator because it's a wolf, like howling at everything? Maybe.
This is a little bit more of a stretch. I was going to
Okay.
be very sad if you said Feast, and that was like the first one that come
Oh.
to mind. Just because like I started to get hungry just thinking about it, and I was like, no, Feast would be terrible.
No, that would be bad. It wouldn't be good. What if
Taste of Blood sounds scary.
It does sound scary. I don't like that. I don't like that one. Although, from the way certain LCS casters talk, like whether they want to see the bloody games, they want to see people fighting and all the kills and stuff. Maybe they
Bloodthirsty.
get yeah.
Maybe they get a free Bloodthirster.
All right.
That's a little more broken than just getting like 20 health on 20-second cooldown or whatever.
Yeah,
That's a little broken.
it is a little broken.
I would say Glacial Augment because things are going slowly,
Mm-hmm.
but that's
That'd be good.
That's a little too memey.
It is a little too much. I'd like to see more of a fleet footwork. Okay, you know what? I tried to call it out last time. In the yellow tree, you have press the attack, fleet footwork, and what's the other one?
That's going to be Lethal Tempo.
That's
the
the
attack
one.
Speed one.
Oh my gosh!
Lethal Tempo.
Yeah, I was trying to talk about it because we watched Utah lock in Tristana and Nunu, and I thought that would be really funny to see the lethal tempo on Tristana because she already gets really fast attack speed, activating the Q plus a Blood Boy. It would be fun.
It's funny at that point you like can't stutter step. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't orb walk, whatever terminology you like to use, because if you do, you actually miss out on possible auto attacks. You kind of just have to stand still and be like, I am a machine gun, and
Yeah.
just like take down whatever happens to be in range, whether it's towers, champions, or minions. Like just stand there. and auto
Yeah.
attack. Like when, what was it? Almost a year ago, I'm sure. At this point, when Kog'Maw got his own change
That's
to be able
right.
to max at 5.0 attack speed rather than 2.5, and he would get it on his own without items. It just happened to be like his late game scaling. That was like insane to see videos of people who had like put hours and hours and hours of practice into like trying to stutter step, and it almost looks like they're just like breaking the game.
Yeah.
Because they're just like it's like way too much. Don't make me do that again.
You won't be able to have seen it on the camera as well, but that was the coolest little shaking I have ever seen. The headset was moving, your cheeks were all...
That's
it was
about
great.
as close to a Kog'Maw cosplay as I think I'll ever get, short of like dragging my butt on the ground and being the Pugmaw, which I could probably pull that off, but I'm not going to do it here on stream, that's for sure.
No. Let's talk about things we want to see. You and I
Okay.
have had the chance to cast a lot of games. We've talked a lot about meta, what's good, what's not, buffs and nerfs and all those kind of things. A lot of what we talk about is the fact that right now you need a lot of good initiation, and you need at least 2 tanks on your team.
Generally speaking, we're still shy of patches that are kind of in the works right now, the upcoming ones, some changes on PBE that are meant to, as Riot has stated, their development team and the balancing team, they've repeatedly stated, in keeping with what casters have been complaining about in LCS, that generally speaking, games are taking too long, right?
Right.
They're just, it's farm out to late. You've seen Double Lift complaining about it on Twitter, on his own streams,
On
where
the
he's just
dive.
saying, yeah, on the dive even as a special guest, where they're addressing this problem where it seems that because of stopwatch and gold generation items and just late game scaling, that you essentially try not to dive for 45 minutes and then maybe fight at Baron, and we'll see what happens. And that
Right.
really doesn't make for great League of Legends, let alone great like spectator sport.
Yeah.
And so they want to make some changes in that regard. But with the current patch we are on, it still kind of is in that state, right? Where you definitely want, as you described, a couple of frontline tanks, initiation tools, so that when you're ready to take those fights, you can and you do. And that's hopefully how you gain your advantages and take the fights and try and win. But up until that point, you just play it safe, farm it out, wait until you get to the point where you have the power spikes from your specific champions and your team composition, kind of like what we saw in the second game for University of Utah versus Oregon State,
Yeah.
which was, despite falling behind a little bit early, having some messy fights, as soon as Utah had their item break points, that's when they said, okay, time to fight.
Yeah.
And it worked out for them.
It worked out wonderfully, especially because Swish, out of his mind that game, went
The Gnar
3-0 without
Jeez.
finishing the Black Cleaver. Like, that was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Just components.
Yeah, he had 2 components. He had the Kindle Gem and the Phage, and was solo killing Jace all over the place. And then once he picked up that Cleaver and they started really fighting, because until that point there were a couple little skirmishes here
Yeah.
and there, but then when they started fighting as a team, trying to set him up and everything with that Black Cleaver, it just tore everything to shreds. And by that time, Azir had his Nashor's Tooth. There was the Muramana and the Trinity Force on Ezreal.
Yep.
Everything fell into place right at that. I think it was, what, 22, 3
Yeah,
minutes?
sounds
something like
about
that.
right.
It was late.
Yeah, it was. That's a couple minutes after you want to see those item breakpoints happening, and that was honestly delayed by a couple of hiccups
Yeah.
from University of Utah's play around the mid lane and the jungle near the top lane. But yeah, I mean, beyond Swish's solo play in the 1v1, his late game Gnar was trouncing on people, just so much damage. But here we are into Champion Select. This is University of Colorado versus University of Oregon. They're taking on their very own best of 3 to see which one of these two teams will join University of Utah at the top of those standings for their current region.
Right. First band's coming out here. Vladimir. I think that he is a very strong champion right now. Very durable, deals a ton of damage in the team fights. That's kind of what you want him to be doing. One of those fighter mages as opposed to control or high burst. He's meant to be in there and doing consistent damage throughout the fight. And I like the answer there on the other side. Oregon taking out Sejuani. Sejuani, one of the top 3 junglers at the moment. I think it's a good takeaway. Whether Joe Mickey is proficient on it or not, any jungler right now should be able to play Sejuani, and if you don't know how to play against it, I like the ban away.
Yeah, it's important to get champions, regardless of the meta. You definitely want to target ban, scout, make sure that you know what the comfort picks are for the enemy team, as well as knowing by talking amongst yourself before you ever get into a draft, before you decide to play competitively, knowing what the champions are that you struggle against. Because good coaches and good support teams, good support members for a team will help to scout not only what enemies are comfortable playing as, but what they're uncomfortable playing against. What are those 1 or 2 champions that consistently they'll lose lane to or just not be able to handle? And if by chance those happen to fit within your own players' champion pools, even if they're not the top of the list, there's some pocket picks that you can turn to if you feel like that would be a good strategy for your team to go for. But it looks like those bans have come through, the first 3 bans from either side, and if my eyes don't deceive me, that's a lock-in first pick Singed for Colorado.
Your eyes don't deceive you. I see it as well. An interesting choice. I think Singed is a very special champion. I think he has a niche where either you're really good or you're really bad with Singed. And so seeing the confidence there, Ragnar locking that in immediately means that he's, I want to say, very good with the Singed.
It's got to be. He's got to be very comfortable on that champion, because if not, that's a lot of eggs you're throwing into that basket. It is his most played. I'm getting word that it is his most played, and so it's got to be that comfort pick. So you wonder if Oregon just didn't do their due diligence to scout that out and ban it, or they're just not worried about him. They don't think it's that scary.
I think that's why they picked the Gnar, though, because he's got the max health damage on his W, and he's got the range. So anytime Singed gets, close enough to try and flip him, he's already going to be hopping away or throwing the boomerang to kite a little bit. And so I think that was really smart on the side of Oregon to pick the Gnar right into it. But then we see our jungle picks, Zach and Jarvan, up really high on the tier list because they only banned the Sejuani and the Rek'Sai in the jungle pool.
Yeah, and most of those would end up being more comfortable champions for bot support here. Bot with my support is full name. It's just when you ban out that many comfort picks, you kind of just take whatever's left in the meta and hope that you're comfortable enough. So that seems to be what Oregon has done here. But I do like their first 2 picks responding to the Singed. Singed, known for running around and trying to wreak havoc. If you lock him down, which Gnar's already going to kind of do pretty well, but then you make sure he's locked down. If a team fight happens and he's nearby, Cataclysm going to do that for you. If you want to commit that resource to the Singed, you can definitely do that. But if you're going to commit to fights, it's a little scary. Now that you see Colorado picking up their next 2 champions to complete their first draft phase, that's going to be the Zac in the jungle with Galio. in mid. And again, I like to remind people, Galio is full AP right now in the current meta. He's not that tanky frontline. He'll build health. He'll build the Abyssal Mask, right? That's a nice health pool, some mana, and relative tankiness from the magic resist, but it's not going to be full tank Galio like you're probably used to seeing in competitive play prior to more recent patches.
And I'm glad that they took that away. Colorado, knowing just the synergy between those three champions, Gnar, J4, and Galio. Just let's think about that for about a moment. Jarvan jumps in and gets the Cataclysm. Say he gets 3 people. Really optimistic there. 2 or 3 people inside. Galio ults, gives him all those resistances, gets the knock-up, suddenly Gnar's there, and throws everyone against the wall. That's massive. And so taking that away, I think, was a really good choice from Colorado, and the fact that Galio is a strong laner right now. He has all that damage and is a little bit more durable than most other mid lane mages and everything like that. But I think Corki was a good response there. Someone who can really put out the damage and even outrange him.
It's very comfortable for Corki if he plays smart, plays on the ball, right? He has to make sure that he's paying close attention, because if he's not, the engage potential from the Galio is substantial, and the burst, being able to follow up his own CC with more of it to get good trades off are nice. But the cool thing about Corki is he can abuse the range versus melee matchup, and if Vertex here on the Galio misses his engage tools, doesn't land the taunt, doesn't land the knock-up, if that's the case, then Spanky on Corki can actually punish him heavily, because now you've not only gap closed and put yourself closer to a damage dealing Corki, but you haven't traded in the meantime. You're literally just trying to walk away at that point. So while it can, there's insane gank potential for the Galio because he has amazing gank assist to help Zach make sure that they lock down a Corki. Corki's really squishy. If he can get locked down, he's going to fall to that. But if you don't catch the Corki, it's 100% certainty going to be Corki going to DPS you down. So interesting compositions from these two teams. I'll be honest, it looks pretty equal overall.
Yeah, and it's another interesting thing to point out that we don't have any of the likes of Alistar or Braum or anything like that. We have Janna and Karma. It's almost like we're backtracking a little bit back to the end of Season 7 meta, where we're going to be Ardent censoring the 80 carries. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think that these picks are very strong. Janna has been said on the dive a few times, and just in opinion in general, is still a very powerful champion, one of the top tier in the support role.
As long as she doesn't get punished, she suffers against poke and getting caught out on her own. If she's in the back of a team fight, you bet she's going to do her job, and she's going to do it better than any other champion can. She's the queen of disengage, the queen of heal. But not if she's dead instantly, because she's a very squishy champion, and if her job is to ward and her team doesn't help her do it, I'm a support main. I know the feeling of trying to reset your team's vision, try and set up for an objective, and then randomly, and sometimes like maddeningly slowly getting caught out, and your team just like can't help you. And then you feel bad because you know you messed up by getting caught out, but there's not much in your champion to help you be able to take those types of fights. But this press the attack could be a lot.
Going in there, popping the summoner heal, and then Varus hit, oh, you know what? He hit the barrier thinking he had the summoner heal, I think is what happened there. And so that's a waste of summoner spell there. Great aggression from Dapper Dave to just press that attack onto Not 10.
Nice wordplay there. As level 2 comes through, that's going to be a flash from the Janna.
Now it is Nidalee One Trick going to try and poke them down. He only has the hail of arrows. That's a flash forward from Dapper Dave. Has to pop his own heal. The exhaust is there. First blood from Dapper Dave, getting that great rend to pick up first blood.
That's what you like to say worth for Dapper Dave. Basically taking a tower hit by mistake for sure, trying to get the Janna, and then turning around and saying, oh, all planned, elaborate baits, and gets himself that first blood. So interesting trades in the bottom lane, a little sloppy from both teams, but it ends up being first blood for the Kalista, and Kalista known for being one of these lane bully snowball champions that can get completely out of hand, but are getting really low. But the same is true of Ragnar the Sexy. He doesn't have flash, he already used the ghost. Nice dodge though.
Yeah, not well placed there from Bot with my support. I think that he should have. It was a reflex thing. You saw him come out of the brush, was expecting some sort of extra movement, either the ghost. Oh no, he doesn't have flash at all, and so he just tried really hard to predict that, but I don't think there was a reason to. Nar maybe could have got close enough to put a ward in that brush and see him, but just a little anxious, I think, is what happened there.
Yeah, that's where you want to see the Jarvan quite literally walking at him until it's a guaranteed knockup.
Exactly.
When he doesn't have flash, you just have movement speed, you're really healthy as the Jarvan, so you don't mind just walking forward and tanking a little bit of damage in the meantime. So a little bit of a misplay by the Jarvan. It's the beginning of the match, the first match for them, but this could be passive for
close,
but that's not going to be it.
Very close. Looks like Varus does take out that control ward, but there's going to be a good monsoon. Not Tanner going to get really low. Dapper Dave is there. The piercing arrow not quite igniting the blight.
Yeah, there were 3 stacks on him and would have done a ton of damage to him.
Ooh, good Valkyrie. Does still get taunted. Vertex getting the damage reduction, but dealing so much. Just like you were talking about, he's built to deal damage right now, not be a tank. And it's very strong. Those Winds of War have been strong even before that point. When he was full tank Galio, it still hurt. And so not a good thing to get caught in.
Yeah, for certain. And the thing I'm seeing here from Spanky is that he's not respecting that damage by using his Valkyrie to match some of the engage. He's not always getting hit by the taunt, but he's not respecting the charge forward that Galio can get himself in range to deal damage and hit that passive, the punch he has, Justice Punch. When you have all of that together, that combined damage is just massive for a Galio, and knowing with the changes in the preseason, you can't take MR runes or anything like that, and so you're going to have extremely low resists, and of course, as a marksman, low health pool as well, and ultimately, you just don't have the ability to take that kind of damage without getting bullied out of lane, which is what you saw. He had to recall, and now he's going to miss out on a lot at his turret. Luckily for him, it's a cannon wave. It'll kind of stick there for a little bit longer, but without the package to get back to lane or teleport or something like that, he's going to miss out on some golden experience, unfortunately.
Yeah, he is, and the same thing is going to happen on the bot lane. Look at Nidalee, One Trick, and Not Tanner. They can't afford to go back. And an interesting, it looks like it's the first, no, it's just about to come off a cooldown here for Nidalee One Trick. That stopwatch is, there it is. There is our 6 minutes. Jarvan is on his way. They might, no, he's just trying to get the Gromp, but right here, this is the place where they probably need to put their pressure, especially with Dapper Dave being so aggressive. He landed an extra auto attack there.
It's going to be the question for these two teams. Do we want to add additional pressure to a lane that we're winning 2v2, or do we want to focus our efforts elsewhere? Luckily, Jin James doesn't actually get...
But this might be it. All he needs is a piercing arrow. That's 3 stacks of blight. Bootless Triton is up, but he has Mega Gnar. He is going to jump, and he's going to wallop. I want to see him ult them away. He doesn't want to get flipped. Oh, instead he flips him into the turret. He's going to take a couple tower shots, but it is not enough. No piercing arrow on the bot lane either to secure those kills.
Yeah, so it's just going to be Gnar following the top lane. Nothing quite happening in the bottom lane, but that's going to be a nice knockup.
And there's a summoner heal and a flash burn. Ah, Dapper Dave pulls the Rend right at the last second and picks up a kill. Nice work from the Colorado bot lane.
Yeah, a nice response, honestly, to what was a great setup from Not Tanner on the Johnny. He lands the nice few into the knockup from Jarvan, and they get him low enough to force out the summoner heal. That's going to be passive from Zach here. I don't think Spanky can sit around and try and get this kill.
No, because there goes the Justice Punch. A lot of damage. He's trying, though. He gets taunted by Vertex, and Joe Mickey wants to jump in. He has it. He has the ultimate, but it is not enough to save his life. Vertex does pick up the kill on the backside, but HH Spanky making it a 1-for-1.
I'm not sure I like that at all. It ultimately ends up being a favorable question mark 1-for-1 for Colorado, because there is the assist pool that comes into that. So they get slightly more kill, 50% more gold. But you already got the summoner spells from Spanky. You already see that Spanky's been struggling in the 1v1. I think the worst thing you can do is give him any extra gold to scale into the late game devil that a Corki can become. And so it's kind of an awkward choice for Spanky to try and be or to give Spanky gold, even if it means you take his life as well. Because it wasn't like you're going to see Virtus stick around mid longer with that low of health and try and take a turret afterwards or pressure some other neutral objective because you just traded your jungler's life. So it's not a terrible choice, but it's not one I think is a great or necessary one.
No, I agree with you. But then Spanky does have the package and makes it out. Right before Zach goes in, Joe Mickey was there, but now Ragnar and Bootless are fighting. Nidalee One Trick going to get rooted by Karma. He is just not having a good game right now. Does pop the stopwatch.
There's no way.
No, except he does because the engage was botched from Jin James. Does not land the knock-up on a stationary target.
That
feels bad, man.
Caster curse 120% there. There's zero way that he gets out alive if Colorado plays slightly well. Now, of course, props to them for getting themselves in a situation where they're likely to get a kill.
Right.
Props to them for that. Really nicely played. They're definitely smashing that 2v2, but that's a little embarrassing to just let a free kill walk out. Little awkward. Oh well.
Well, and look at the level disparities here. Gosh, they're forcing flashes literally every time they try and fight. But now Spanky is down there. They don't have a turret to force them back into. Now Dapper Dave is ahead. He's going to go in. Gets hit by the Monsoon. Flashes forward. All they need to do is rend, and Dapper Dave is on a killing spree. Spanky didn't even get close. Galio is now there. They know what's going on. Groot is going to not land onto Tanner. And Bot with my support is there. In jumps Bootless Sinton, but they don't have the fight. There's the jump in with the Justice Punch and the taunt. Everybody is getting hit. Everybody is going to die. Teleport from the top lane means that even Singed is there. That was just massacred in the bot lane jungle for Colorado.
Yeah, I mean, nice stall by Colorado. They kind of get themselves in a hairy situation, and the teleport comes through first from Bootless, and he brings the Meganar, but it times out just before he enters the fight. Can you imagine a 3-man Gnar ultimate into stun with a Galio full health right there with not a lot of damage? He's already got the blasting one. That could have been 3 quick kills going over to Oregon had it just been for an extra second or two on Meganar or less stalling that happened from Colorado. So well played by Colorado to give themselves just enough time to avoid what could have been disaster.
And I think the definition of disaster right now is Kalista, 30 CS up, 4 kills, 0 deaths at almost 11 minutes.
Yeah, and she got the first turret as well. You can see 5,500 gold lead in favor of Colorado, only 11 minutes in. Most of that gold is just here on Kalista. Already completing her first item when they're just a recurve bow, essentially, and Boots won on the Varus to match. So it's not really a question.
It goes so well.
It's not a question at this point as to whether or not Colorado will win the next few fights. It's when.
Right.
Unless Oregon does a dramatic stall that just doesn't seem to happen because there's so many engage tools here for Colorado. They can just run at you, dive you. They've got Singed and Zach and the ultimate that can come through from Kalista. All of those leading up to, of course, the entrance. But Gnar's engage is great here.
But the Let's Bounce gets them out, and Bot with my support is going to go down that last auto attack. Flash, but you can't dodge auto attacks. But now, Nidalee One Trick is dealing a lot of damage there. He wants to throw the piercing arrow. Ragnar is super fast. They don't have a turret. And so he's going to continue farming these minions. Good disengage on the bot side, but Bot with my support going down. He is very behind. And now, Dapper Dave wants some Bootless. He gets the slow from the Blade of the Ruined King. The Q doesn't land. Flat forward from Joe Mickey. Gets the knockback and the stun. Dapper Dave gets 6-0. Woo! Nice summoner heal.
Not,
Did he have his,
yeah,
he had his passive back, didn't he? Okay.
Recombobulate his globlets. You can recombine those together. It would have been better, I think.
Yeah,
the summoner spell.
spell.
Though the revive can be useful for baiting in the future too. They're both about equal. But as you can see, it's now 10-1 with 4,000 gold plus. What is that? 7,000 total. I was mostly looking at the gold advantage here for just Kalista is in the range of 4,000. Just looking at her items, looking at the turrets that she's taken. The next time she faces, she's likely picking up a completed secondary item.
Yeah.
With 50 CS up, 6 kills, 2 assists. She's been everywhere, catching more and more people. As you can see, Jarvan getting caught in the jungle. You can see the Corki can't even take these fights anymore. He's running out of mana just trying to trade semi-equally, and he's just going to get dove. Dapper Dave, 80 carry, running straight into a turret tells you a little bit about this match.
That was beautiful to see that happen. Takes only 1 turret shot, make that 2. Blue turret does go down on the bottom side, but it doesn't matter because there are 4 members of Colorado ready to take this next one. I think you're right. I think Alyssa's going to leave the base with a Hurricane once she backs.
Or more. I would be surprised if she doesn't have more than a completed seal item at this point. Those are cheaper items, 2,600, 2,800 or so. It depends on which one you choose. She just took a couple of turrets and got a couple of kills. It's hard to believe that with her farm on top of it that she wouldn't get an item and a half at least, right? So she hasn't even left yet. She's still pushing forward. Press the attack ballista, doing work here. Nice knock up, a little bit of a heal there. But Spanky getting down to less than half health, taking more and more poke from that Winds of War. There's going to be the Zac in the far away. Misses the last swing shot.
But it doesn't matter because Vertex is there. Oh, he is going to be underneath the turret, and Janna picks up the kill. Everyone else ran away. Poor Vertex gets caught in the Cataclysm underneath the turret. Feels bad.
A little bit ahead of themselves at this point. They are massively ahead, 7,000 gold, but you still can't do really, really scary things, like diving without your minions or starting out at half health before fights and trying to take them anyway, using key spills and then trying to take fights anyway without them. That's how you lose a 7,000 gold lead, so I want to see them slowing it down a little bit, being a little bit more methodical, playing around the Callista as she's completed not a Zeal item, but a Wit's End against a team that only has one real source of magic damage because there's no real magic damage threat coming out of what would be an on-hit Varus when he's this far behind.
Right.
So there's not really a huge magic damage threat for Colorado anyway, considering that Galio's not at the same level of fed that you see the Callista. So trying to understand a little bit more of the Wit's End pick here, because normally you wouldn't have Singed with you. You'd see him split pushing, but at this point when you're that far ahead, nitpicking builds doesn't really make that much difference.
Oh, but that might be the kill onto Ragnar. There it is. Bootless does pick that one up, but now Spanky's in a lot of trouble. He flashes, and Dapper Dave just wants to go in. He throws out the... Oh, he got the rend, flashes in, and does get shut down. Jin Jin is going to be tankier with the ultimate from Galio. Galio goes in 1v3. I think this might be the throw here. There's a knockup from Janna and the slows. Winds of War down on the ground. Zac is there. He's Italy one trick gets it. There's a knockup onto Joe Mickey. He jumps away, but it's in vision. He's not going to go anywhere. Piercing Arrow is there. Will we see the Zephyr from Not Tanner? There it is. He is knocked into passive form. One of those is under turret. They just need to fight these little bloblets and take him out. And suddenly, we have a huge swing in favor of Oregon.
It might not be enough to make a huge difference, but yeah, Oregon gaining themselves a few thousand gold. They get the shutdown onto an almost legendary Callista, meaning that's a full max value shutdown spread amongst their team, giving bonus gold over, and the last 2 kills were here on Italy one trick. That means he's going to be able to complete the items that he needs.
Ooh, and a good engage here. Ragnar being really cheeky, thinking he can kill everybody, but the ultimate, those Chains of Corruption from Nidalee one trick stop him, and we see the blight damage. He got several auto attacks on, and then the spells perfectly done there, especially with the red buff, just burning it down.
Need to see a little bit more of what we just saw from Oregon, where they're securing vision. You can see this top side belongs almost entirely to Oregon in terms of vision. If they can keep that up, then they'll be able to rotate through, because it's their side of the map. They'll be able to rotate through faster when Colorado tries to dive so deep and play to that vision advantage, try and get more of these shutdowns, more of these catch potentials that could happen in their own jungle based on Colorado being a little over-aggressive. You're going to have to pick up the Rift Herald.
No, they're
Okay,
sending
we got
Zac in there.
I'm like, you can't just walk away. I mean, you get 50 gold, great job. It's going to give you a little bit of an advantage. It's not the same as getting a turret, but...
No, it's not. But then on the opposite side, we do see Jarvan taking out that Windrake, with the help of his team, blue team immediately summons the Rift Herald, wanting to send it. I think that could have been placed a little bit more strategically, and now we have a teleport from Gnar. He is in Mega Gnar form, but only for a second. There's a knockup coming from Jinjin James, and now Joe Mickey is in the fray underneath the turret. The last auto attack does kill Boots over the wall, and it's a 1-for-0 for now. They do take out the Rift Herald in the mid lane. Corki is thrown backward, does get the kill onto Jinjin James, and now Zach goes down. Vortex is in the middle of everybody. He is taunted and cataclysmed. Everybody everywhere is getting hit with so much. I think these fights are so chaotic.
Ends up being a 4-for-2 overall in favor of Oregon. You know, you wonder, how can Colorado throw a 7,000 gold lead? Well, they're writing the textbook on it for you right here. It's being just way too over-aggressive. And, you know, it honestly started out really bad for Oregon with the teleport coming in from Bootless Triton here on the Gnar. He comes in, he does have Mega, but only for like a half second longer. He's saying, ahanga, and then he shows up and they go, I gotcha, because he's the only one who's out of position. He walks into 3, and even flashing over a wall, he ends up dying to the last little damage there from a Callista. But the rest of the fight goes pretty well. Nice cataclysm from Jarvan. Ends up netting them a 4-for-2 overall. So, however this is playing out for Oregon, it's working for their advantage. If this gets to late game, it's actually kind of scary for Colorado, because Colorado's composition is built to engage on you and try and take only specific kinds of fights. You have the Karma, who's not a late game initiating champion. She can shield people, but you can see she's just building to kind of support one person, just the Callista. With the Ardent Sensor, you know that that only really adds value to just Callista. There's not like a Gnar, for example, on their team that can make use of the additional attack speed and on-hit damage. So you're not going to see a lot of mantra'd shields for her team most of the time, I would say. And so it's kind of odd to see this scaling into late for Colorado, because they're not built for it as well as Oregon is, and they're slowly but surely diminishing their own leads. You can see it's only 3,500 or so that's in favor of Colorado, when it used to be approaching 10K.
Right. And I like this setup around the Baron. They know that they have vision priority. Oh no, I think that red ward is out of pink ward range there in the very back. But there's the engage. Let's bounce. Does land onto bot with my support. He is going to get a cataclysm down before dying. Chain of Corruption does hit one, but now Nidalee Windrake needs to flash away. No hit from the Callista ult again. And now Gnar is there. He is going to be flipped back, but he gets a perfect 3-man Gnar. And the flash is burned by Callista. She does go down. Nidalee Windrake goes in. Double kills. There are 3 kills there. Spanky and Nidalee Windrake are nailing this game, doing all of the things right and securing their advantages, chasing Vertex out. Singed isn't going to be doing anything. There's a Valkyrie over the wall for the kill. 15-15 in kills. It's barely a 2,000 gold deficit anymore.
Yeah, I mean, just disaster there. That's where, honestly, Oregon is saying, yes, Ragnar, you are sexy. Thank you for tossing Gnar back into your whole team. He gets a multi-man Gnar ult into multiple stuns, and nice stalling and kiting back there. That's what their team comp is honestly designed to do, is kite back and win these fights. And now, with the majority of the team for Colorado just respawning in their base, why not take the Baron? And that's going to quickly decrease that gold lead even more, bring it up to just about even. It's only 300 gold now that separates these two teams. Oh, can't even stop the base. Sneaks out.
Oh.
We'll have to see if Oregon can not make the same mistake that Colorado has done, where they get overconfident with a couple of fights in their favor and then throw the lead. It's really only a couple hundred gold, which 20+ minutes into a match doesn't make that much of a difference at all. As you can see, what used to be a full item advantage on Callista is now just about a half an item, and you've got the core completed for the Varus. And you can see, he's able to bully out what should be a super tanky jungler. And you can see, nice! Chains of Corruption.
Perfect ult to secure that kill. Giving it over to Spanky, 7 out of the 16 kills. Doing work here. Corki and Varus are destroying this game. They are massively responsible for this comeback.
It was a rough laning phase, honestly, for both of these players. They weren't doing too hot in their 1v1 or 2v2. and fell behind massively early. But now when the team fights have happened in 5v5 situations, or at least multi-man situations, they're playing them stellarly, right? They're playing back and playing only to their advantages, where Spanky, I haven't seen him get caught out. There's only 2 deaths on nearly 1 trick. I believe those were both from laning phase. And since then, he's done nothing but farm back up, catch back up. He's not down 50 anymore. He's getting closer and closer to catching back up to Callista's farm. And now he has approaching similar gold generation as well. Now he's got a turret. It's 2 to 3 in turrets when it used to be a lot different of a story developing here in favor of Colorado. Now Oregon is setting the tempo.
And it's beautiful to see. Ooh, nice input buffer there, getting out just as Zach lands with the knockup. Bootless does get thrown in, but it's not going to turn into anything. The thing I really want to talk about is I want to see Spanky have a package and not burn it defensively. He's had to do it 3 times. And so if they can keep themselves in this game, they are now ahead in the goal, picking up another Drake. This is the time. Get those items. He just picks up a BF sword, working on that Infinity Edge to go with everything else. It's going to be amazing to see an aggressive package for the first time in this game.
I would like to see it too. When you have Cleanse as a summoner spell, you can play a little bit more aggressively because it gives you that get out of jail free card if you find yourself in a hairy situation. But honestly, the best use of a package can be one that splits up a team fight and forces people to walk across it if they want to be in a better position. You can see, you wanted to see it used aggressively, this might be the time. It is in the sideline. That's a lot of damage. There's going to be a teleport coming through. He almost takes down Vertex, but forced to back off as you're going to see Singed canceling the teleport to try and hold the top wave. So that's going to be another turret, tying it up at 3 to 3 in turrets. Now a 3,000 gold lead, 2.5 really, but just about 3,000 gold lead. Now in favor of Oregon.
Oh, and there's a good wall up into the queue. Toss back. Ragnar is taking a lot of damage from minions, get gnarred into the wall. That's still Baron buff. And now you're going to get hit with the max health damage from the W, but in comes the cavalry. There are 2 other members there. Bootless is going to go down without taking out Ragnar. Nice roam from Colorado to try and get themselves back into this game.
Yeah, rest in peace, Gnar. Not really anything you could do once as you said, the cavalry arrives. You're kind of left out in the dust. So unfortunate for him. Almost getting himself a kill. I like that he's playing aggressively, but you need to have a little bit more awareness, a little bit more communication with your team as to where other members could show up from. But this is a nice push. Now they're up in turrets, almost up in kills. It's a tie now, but up in turrets, up in gold, and they're setting the tempo. You can see they're the ones in control of vision on the map. They could be the ones to set the tempo for the rest of this match and hopefully net themselves the win for game 1.
I think this is the ultimate underdog story. They were so far behind, but just some quick fights, some good thinking, and some amazing mechanics in play have switched this around entirely. I am loving it. All of the disparities are gone. Varus is only 8 CS, or rather 6 CS down. That's only 1 wave. When before, like you said, he was down 50. And that is amazing. Picking up his second item there, or sorry, he already had the Wit's End, but now just really in this, I am flabbergasted.
Yeah, Colorado doing something special. Again, writing the textbook on how to throw a lead. But they do have the tools, and I want to see them use them. They've got a scary team composition if they play around vision properly. How do you play around? If you're one of these squishy late game carries, like the Corki, like the Varus, even to some degree like the Gnar, who's just built essentially health items, if you get caught out of position like the Gnar kind of did and get baited into a bad fight like what just happened to the Gnar, then you know that you can take down these members. And when you get those fights happening, you have so many more engage tools on Colorado than you do on Oregon, that if you can catch one person, it's a 5v4 situation. You can just force those fights with a numbers advantage and snowball it from there and take the map as best you can at that point. So there you go, baited into a fight, forcing the Valkyrie away. Now you know that if you can get him into doing that again when he doesn't have Valkyrie available, he's screwed. He's gonna get caught and he's gonna die. And when you have a 7-4 Corki off the map, that gives you so much more breathing room as Colorado.
For sure. And so we've been talking a lot about how they've been throwing the game, but let's talk positives. Like you said, Zach is the initiator. He is the longest range gank I'm aware of in the game. And Galio has a fantastically ranged ultimate that gives damage reduction and knocks up in a massive AoE. So if they can set it up, they have a great team fight, like we've been saying. But here it comes, Chain of Corruption. Instant melt there with the Corky damage. And the Varus getting the Blight procs and the knock-up with my support. Beautiful play. They got to know something's up, though. That ward is blocked with the control ward, but they take that turret for free. No initiation outside of Zach.
Well, you can't.
Or, sorry, not Zach.
Precisely what I was just talking about was, if you're Colorado, you want to catch someone out so that you have a 5v4 situation. But unfortunately, with lack of vision, then Ragnar walks into multiple members. Yeah, it's going to be the Chain of Corruptions. Why the heck not? You just want to delete someone, so if you can take someone out, you're going to have the 5v4 situation in your favor. And now you can see Gnar here running defense. He's just saying, I'm playing in front of my carries, and they're just going to take the Baron away, despite the respawn coming here for Ragnar.
Did he just flash in? He flashed in to try and get the engage with Ragnar, but they need to turn around and kill him. And now Spanky gets the kill there. Gnar almost gets the stun. Bot with my support jumps in, but the last knockup goes down. But now there's a flash forward, the red buff burning down. Dapper Dave, and that's another kill. That is a 4 for 2, plus they get the Baron. Oregon gonna take this game. 7,000 gold up themselves now.
Yeah, you can see the attack speed coming through here for an Italy 1 trick. He's doing so much damage. Now, he didn't go lethal tempo to go beyond max attack speed, so I don't really want to see him building any more attack speed items. I want to see more either cooldown reduction or like critical strike, or just like survivability with that lifesteal possibly building into a VP or something.
Yeah.
He's got the Janna, so he's got a lot of options, but you can see the damage is just insane there. You saw the Zac trying to flash in to start a fight. One, I disagree with that choice simply because they just got Baron and you didn't start a fight, right? You didn't take the fight at the Baron. They already got it. They're full health, essentially. So why would you want to start that? A little bit of a mistake there. But as you saw, prior to now having a Spectre's Cal in his inventory, he had no magic resist to speak of. And there's so much magic damage that comes from the late game Corky and late game Varus that you're not expecting if you haven't really thought it through, because you think, oh yes, they're both marksmen, they're both building crit chance and attack speed. Isn't that physical damage? No, there's going to be the Blight passive, the Blight on hit that's going to come from Varus, and then of course Corky. The majority of his damage is converted into magic damage from physical, despite it being physical attack damage items that he builds with crit chance, and that's just so much. You can see here, 2 auto attacks. The Sheen procs with critical strike, Infinity Edge, 1 or 2 more will do it. Yes, almost the 1, just took him straight down, and that's supposed to be one of your tankier members. Again, this is a Galio, mostly just health, but you can see another person getting caught out. There's the Corky damage once again, just so much with the critical strike chance. He's now up to the most CS in the game, second most kills. He's very close behind the Callista, but you know who would win the 1v1 between him and Callista easily.
That was our aggressive Valkyrie. It was slightly off screen, but there it was. Or not Valkyrie, what am I saying? The package use. It was right there. It happened. Now that's the second inhibitor broken, and they're just going to push for the win. They have the wave. And, you know, Galio is gone. Since he's gone, a perfect interrupt there, and he is going to go down. There's a redemption to keep them nice and healthy, but 3 immediate kills for the ace while they go in. Heal up from Janna and just take this game. Oregon. Colorado may write the book on how to throw, but Oregon wrote the book on how to come back. It was amazing.
It hurts.
It does.
It hurts.
It really hurts. I don't know that there's much else to talk about in that game. We said a lot of things while that was going on.
It's so hard to put your finger on precisely what went wrong and when exactly for that throw to happen, because essentially you have Oregon just doing nothing on the map while slowly falling behind to thousands and thousands of gold, and Callista just like running at people. Not a champion you normally see do that,
No.
but so far ahead, items ahead, and then you see Colorado just slipping up one time after another time and trying to maintain their pressure even through losing members in fights. Like, oh, well, Calista said it's fine. Like, no, it's really
No, it's
not. It's really, really not. And then you lose these team fights over and over again and then lose objectives. And somehow, in a blink of an eye, it feels like what was almost a 10,000 gold lead becomes almost a 10,000 gold deficit in just moments.
Yeah, an amazing turnaround. Fantastic play from Oregon, keeping it cool. I use those words a lot. Keep it cool. Wait for the game. Play. You gotta play the game, whether you lose or not. Play to your strengths. If your strength is waiting it out and team fighting, then wait it out in team fight, and that's what they did.
Slow it down.
Yeah.
One way or the other. Either you're slowing it down to stall the game and come back, or you're slowing it down to make sure that you don't throw the game, that you
Right.
don't make sloppy mistakes, that you don't get caught out, that you don't over-aggress and pay for it.
For sure.
But they paid for it, and that's going to be Colorado falling to Oregon despite being up almost 10,000 early on in the game for a quick 0-1, now in favor of Oregon. So University of Oregon will have to see if they can bring out an 0-2 or 2-0 in their favor
Yeah.
shortly, right after the break. We'll be back with more League of Legends action on the Pacific Alliance of Collegiate Gamers right after this break.
story I used to hear, to run on and to end disappear. Your stories, they come from the heart, moving together and tear me apart. Burning down the walls, we let the monsters in, and now we're burning down the halls. No, we can't let them win. There's an evil inside, just look and wait down below. And if I can't hold my breath, then I'm bound to become hollow. Can you say that I disappeared? Can you say that I wasn't there for you when you went into hiding on the front steps of your porch? And I reflected on the memories, but I put out that torch. Hey! But I put out that torch. But I put out that torch. You make me feel like home. You turn around, I feel the breeze over me. You watch your dreams unfold. Let it come around and let it breathe over me. It's time to go away into the light. I feel the calming energy. I see the darkness coming, and I'm calling you to help me set me free. I'm calling for you. I'm calling for you. I'm calling for you.
Welcome back to Week 1, Day 2 of the Pacific Alliance of Collegiate Gamers League of Legends Spring Tournament. We're a game into our second match of the evening with 1-0 in favor of Oregon, Colorado falling first game. That means in this best of 3, this next game could be match point.
Yeah, it could. But let's just jump into the game. Let's
I want to get
into
right
the picks
into
and banes
yes.
to do this. What a crazy game. Not a lot really to analyze on that one, to talk about. Just a really bad throw, and so I want to move right past it and see what adaptations each of these teams make, because they both need it.
Yeah.
They both need it. Bad early game coming out of Oregon. Atrocious late game coming out of Colorado. And so we are here into picks and bans. What do you expect to see out of this one?
I have no clue. I'm going to be straight up on it. I have no clue what to expect from these players, from these teams, because last game was an absolute clown fiesta from both teams. It was back and forth, yes, but like the seesaw action was the type of seesaw you see like parents worried about their kids playing on in elementary school because one of them's going to get launched into the air across the playground, because that's essentially what we saw happen to the gold lead that Oregon had given over to Colorado. It was like, here you go. And Oregon's like, nah, back to you, back to you, back and forth. These two teams were just like trading those gold leads like crazy.
It really was. It was exactly like that.
A game of ping pong with a massive sack of gold.
Yeah. I want to say that the Morgana ban here has got to be a target ban. Morgana hasn't really been prevalent in higher levels of play. And so I think they're just trying to keep that one away. And then the Curious Sona ban coming here on this side as well. Colorado banned it last game too.
I would expect to see more of the Shield Heal champions. I assume those are what Not Tanner's comfortable on. And then Jin James, of course, picked the Karma last game. These are obviously contested picks at the support level. I imagine Morgana more aimed at the support rather than, say, like a mid.
Right.
And with that in mind, if you recall, Not Tanner was one of the few members of Oregon that wasn't actually just
straight up feeding.
Okay, I wasn't going to say it like that.
My bad.
But
My bad.
No.
I'll
I mean,
take that one.
You're being honest. Yeah, he was one of the few members that was not straight up feeding and being in awkward places at awkward times. Honestly, doing it, I mean, as a support player, I understand the feel of trying to peel for people who just, they seem like they want to die. I do a queue sometimes with a buddy of mine who plays AD carry, and I can't tell you countless times where I've said to him, I say, hey, look, I can save you from a lot, but I can't save you from your own deep-seated desire to hand over 300 gold at a time to an enemy player. So a little bit of that happening, Not Tanner. Decent Janna play. I would love to see that come through again. It worked out well for him. Hopefully his team will play better to that as a strength for their lineup than they did in the previous game. But I'll try not to talk so much about the prior game just because it was such a facepalm of a match.
So then let's talk about this. A lot of similar bans. Morgana, Nasus, Tahm Kench, all banned by Oregon last game. Sona and Syndra, both banned by Colorado last game. Good stuff. And then changing the draft to get rid of the Varus. The Varus was a problem. I think they underestimated the amount of damage that Blighted Quiver can do, because it did. It was huge.
A ton. Tons of damage. Right?
Yeah,
coming out from that Varus, the on-hit attack speed and crit chance builds that came out from both Varus and the Corki were doing insane amounts of DPS, able to just melt what should have been a tanky front line from the opposing side, but it ended up not really mattering. They just snowballed out of control in the reverse. So it looks like with the first few picks coming through here, the band's completed. You can see them on your screen. That's going to be Jin James picking up once again. It's going to be that Karma, obviously a comfortable pick for him. And then Dapper Dave going to have this time around, he's going to have that, instead of being able to have the Callista, it's an extremely different play style to play Tristana. So I'll have to see if he adapts accordingly.
Well, I think it would be better for him. I think he was trying to go way too fast on the Callista, the shorter range, the less damage on your auto attacks. I think that Tristana will be a better fit for him. Dealing the full damage, having a more realistic escape instead of just kiting with the martial poise. Instead, he'll have the rocket jump. But the more interesting thing is,
that assumes he uses rocket jump away.
Oh wait, okay. You know what? You're right.
I'm just
You're
pointing out that in the last game, he played a champion that has a jump every second
And
and
jumped
always
in.
used it forward. So we'll have to see if the extended rocket jump is used aggressively or defensively.
So then back to my other point. Sorry. Oregon banned Sejuani last game because they didn't want to fight it. But because they're on blue side, they left it open. And Colorado didn't want to ban it either. And so they pick it up. That's a great champion. Especially, we saw what Bot with my support did with the Jarvan. It's
Yeah.
going to be... I think the Sejuani is a better pick in general. Just not the Cataclysm is awesome, but you can do more and survive more as the Sejuani, in my opinion. So I like that pickup, and then a good safe lane for the bot here for Nidalee, One Trick, and not Tanner.
Interesting team compositions thus far. I think they're relatively equal this far into the draft. You can see that the last bans have now come through. The Gnar going to get banned out. You don't want to see that again. And finally, the Singed, they say, no more of that. That was annoying to deal with. And the Galio, too. So not going to be the same solo lanes for certain here for Colorado. And that's going to be Maokai locked in. I'll be interested to see what they decide to answer that with. Again, likely, if not certainly, going to be the top lane here for Colorado. GP answers.
Okay.
One more pick for Oregon will come through, and we'll have to see what they decide they want from mid. I assume it's not the Ezreal mid.
No.
That's not common.
I don't think that that's how you play this. However, the last game we watched, Best Sniper Africa from Oregon State does play Ezreal a lot. I think that he is their mid laner for sure. Okay, let me rephrase that. He is their mid laner, plays a lot of Ezreal. I'm pretty sure it's still in the mid lane, but I like the Orianna pick.
I do too. They have a team composition that looks built to team fight, which is a better version, I would say, of what they built for themselves last game and that got themselves the win, essentially. This one scales just about as well. Ezreal late game damage is insane. Orianna late game damage is insane. And what else is true of Gangplank?
Yeah.
The same exact thing. His late game damage is insane. Tons of damage, right? And it's I can say that because two of these people built Trinity Force.
Right. And Trinity Force, just that quick extra burst of damage, right? Your spell, your auto attack, it's massive. There's a reason that's the description, and even if you're in the shop and you type tons of, it will bring up Trinity Force.
Yeah.
Like, there's no other item that does. It's a nice little Easter egg that they stick in there. Go ahead and try that at home if you haven't yet. I like that it was chosen as a counter pick. The Gangplank was chosen as a counter pick against the Maokai, and a lot of that is Gangplank has a lot more damage, can be everywhere on the map, quote unquote, because of his ultimate, and he has a way to get out of the roots with his remove scurvy. So I think it's a fantastic pick, and they're going to try and scale just like last game, make it 35, 40 minutes, and then they're going to turn online and win this game.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have a lot more damage in team fights and in the split push, a lot faster wave clear in a split push from the GP. He can get out of control if left unchecked. And honestly, it's extremely difficult to punish with just these champions. It's extremely difficult to punish the Maokai if Jarvan puts the pressure near the top side. Because despite the impossible level of scaling that GP can have, and very quickly so because he gets the bonus gold, he's very susceptible to early pressure, early ganks. And Maokai, one of the best champions for gank assist.
Yeah.
You point and click, root them in place, and yes, remove scurvy can say, okay, and now I'm ready to go. Eat oranges and BK, but you're actually not okay if Jarvan's right there too to knock you up shortly thereafter. You just wait out the orange or wait until he just dies. One way or the other, it's really easy to punish the very early game of the GP until it gets to the point where he just one-shots waves, he pushes it into the turret, backs off, clears some jungle camps, and then he just gets to the point where he has way too much gold in his inventory.
The one other thing I want to look at is Joe Mickey on the Jarvan. The last time we saw a Jarvan in the... Okay, sorry, not the last, but you and I have casted... This is going to be game number 4 today that we've casted, and we watched a Jarvan rush those Raptors. And
Ouch.
Yeah, it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, with the armor nerfs on this patch to Jarvan, in the first rotation of his jungle, those Raptors will eat you alive.
And so I want to see the adaptation to the map changes, to the nerfs, to everything like that with the Jarvan. Hit your buff, hit your other buff, hit the Grump, and then go to the Wolves. That's going to be the safer of all of any path. And especially on the red side, I think that will, that puts you by your bottom lane. That sets you up to go get the Scuttle Crab and have vision on the Drake. I think that's going to be a much better path for him instead of trying to stop by that Raptor camp. You buy an item and then you go back in and take those because they are worth a lot of gold, a lot of experience. But, adaptations to keep Colorado ahead like that.
Yeah, and I like that Colorado has drafted a lot of go buttons here. The Annie mid, we saw that in the last series.
So good.
It's scary. It didn't end up netting the win, but what it was is that it's just so strong in its ability to just catch you and catch you right, like instantly, right? And if you can do that and get key members like an Ezreal or even like the Orianna, you can burst them down very quickly, these squishy champions, and then there's not as many damage threats. And to be honest, the three main threats of Oregon here are always going to be those squishy builds, short of perhaps Steric's Gauge or something of that nature for
Gangplank.
The Gangplank is there's not actually going to be that much that will keep the Ezreal, the Orianna, and the Gangplank alive if Annie gets a nice multi-man stun into a full rotation, a full combo of her spells. When that's the case, then you imagine very quickly and very likely so the Tristana getting resets after resets after resets. So we're going to load here onto Summoner's Rift. We're now just over a minute and a half. The minions have spawned. This is game 2 between Oregon and Colorado. This will be Klepto Ezreal with his first ever Q of the game, gets a money bag.
For the win.
Must be nice. I never get that happen to me anymore. I'm kind of jealous.
Yeah, and the last time we saw Ezreal get the first Q, he grabbed a mana potion. That was weird. And now we see another not in the game item anymore with that little ward. So he's had 2 great Qs in there. One of the key differences here from the last game is the amount of stopwatches. There were only maybe 2 last game. Now there are 4 and 2 minion dematerializers.
Wait, why is there's a minion dematerializer in bronze?
I think that does that proc the relic shield?
If the relic shield has its charge available, yes, then you'll share the gold. It's however you decide that you're going to clear a minion. If you have that charge available, then you're going to share the gold.
There it was.
It's interesting that he chose. It looked like he used it. Correct me if I'm wrong. It looked like he used it on the cannon.
Yep.
But I can't imagine why you need to have a significant amount of bonus damage towards cannon minions unless you like are mad at your teammates for never letting you take them when you can, because like you're going to get bonus execute damage on the relic shield and what it builds into just by having bonus health. And when that's the case, then having the dematerializer is a little weird to me.
Yeah, I think a lot of what it is wanting to share the gold, wanting to just shove the lane. But because Ezreal probably got the biscuit delivery or the free boots wait, you can't have boots and stopwatch, so
Not
he
anymore.
probably has the biscuit delivery. A decent gank here from bot with my support, being in the bot lane like his name suggests. But as I was saying, I think that they're trying to get the push because Tristana naturally pushes. We've seen that a couple times, and it just Tristana will always push underneath the turret, so I think it's just going to be a quick clear strategy to try and get them out from underneath their turret.
Jarvan's here in mid lane. He does get spotted out by the minions. Gonna back off here. A little awkward of a gank path there. He's just looking to try and secure some early jungle vision and look for if he can find this Sejuani. No idea where she is. You see the pings coming out. Nice ward drop. Gonna make sure that he knows, but this is a better gank path. Out of vision. Spanky does get stunned into the knockup. The cleanse happens mid-air. There's gonna be the ignite. That will continue to tick because cleanse is already down, but there's enough health remaining. But look who's not healthy. It's gonna be both of these players. You can see bot with my support not able to keep up the aggression when Orianna had to back so far off.
And great gank there from Jarvan. Nice timing too. I think that I believe Spanky flashed before the Jarvan knockup. and got stunned anyway. I would have liked to have seen is a little bit more heads up on that. Get the cleanse right as you get stunned and have the flash ready for when the knockup comes. But Joe Mickey is still here because there is no flash, there is no cleanse on Spanky. I don't think that Vertex is healthy enough to go in for this, but
honestly,
he is here.
Don't think they have the damage. She's level 5, 60 to 70% health. You definitely have a point in Command Protect at this point. That's going to give you effectively a greater health
and here it is.
amount. There's no stun. There's the knockup, but you can see there's just not enough damage here. All right, the flash in's going to do it, but you can see Annie falls to minions at the backside. Just so long to deal that much damage. There's going to be a 1-for-1 overall. Nicely played there by Spanky, playing it just safe enough and returning spells to be able to trade the damage, get a 1-for-1. It's going to be bonus gold, essentially, for the First Blood, plus assist pool on First Blood. 600 total gold to 300 total gold. So double the total gold goes over here to Colorado, so well played by them. But you can see all of that time setting that up, Annie fell behind in almost double CS.
Yeah, and that's really unfortunate, especially because Annie has the full mana refund on her Q. There's no reason to not use it to do your last hits. It's got great range, and so it's weird to see all of that. So much aggression coming from the jungler. It's not netting any sort of advantage other than Orianna has died once, but so has your mid laner. And so I'm curious why they're putting their eggs in that basket right there. Joe Mickey now is being followed. Spanky does have his ult. He does cast it. Sejuani is there. Oh, but one more auto attack gets it because it was shot before he dashed out.
Spanked on his way out. He tries to flag and drag away, but that's going to be enough. And you can see Maokai gets a solo kill on the Gangplank. Gangplank, known for having much more early game damage, but you can see the Balmy Cinder was already in the inventory. The teleport had come through, and that's the kind of sticky situation you can see happen in the 1v1's top lane, where if your lane opponent teleports back into the lane and you have not purchased yet, you're at a significant disadvantage because all the gold that's in your inventory is not items. You don't actually have those stats. And so if you're going to take a fight, if they're going to force a fight on you, you're actually really far behind in terms of total fighting ability. You can see here, this replay, it's just going to be teleport in, level 6, trade in, knock back, and that's going to be a flash forward. Half health Maokai is just going to say, yeah, I'm a big tree. See you, nerd.
Oh, he flashed the barrel.
Yeah, really well played. And being aggro as a tree just makes you worried for this Gangplank. There's a little bit of a misplay from him not to respect the superior base timing, essentially. And that's going to be the turret, likely to fall here, but it is a 3v3 situation. There's no mana available or health now on the Ezreal, so it looks like having Sejuani show up will mean that they do back off. Orianna's on the wing, though. They might fight this anyway.
I think that they should. Flash forward, gets a nice command shockwave. Good stun there. Glacial Fissure up. That's a first kill. Red buff burns down. Double kill in favor of Oregon. Fantastic play. I'm glad they stayed around. That flash forward into the ultimate from Orianna was key.
Yeah, it's definitely bought with my support, gets the double kill there, probably saying to himself, all me. And Orianna's like, what? My. And then, you know, they just laugh it off in team comms. Really lighthearted play there. You see them being hyper aggressive in the bottom lane. I like that gank path with Orianna pushing out the Annie. We talked about how Annie, prior to having a lot more items in her inventory, can't really shove anyone out.
Yeah.
Her wave clear comes when she has a massive mana pool, or at least a lot of cooldown reduction. And she doesn't have that yet. The Lost Chapter does a lot for her, but not as much as Orianna can, because all of her spells are area of effect.
And so I wanna ask you about this dematerializer that Annie does have there, but instead we might have to pause for this aggression around the Drake. Bot with my support wants to go in on it, and I think that they're going to set up and take the Drake. No, I think that they're going to just clear out the vision. They see that Tristana placed a ward, and now they're just going to back out. Good choice. But what I was going to say is...
Well, there could be a counter gank here.
Gank. He went just for the slow. No ultimate yet on Orianna. But they do see Not Tanner coming up the river. They're being really careful.
Ooh, Jarvan in a weird position.
Ultimate is almost up. Looks like Sejuani's in the wings as well. Winter's Bite does not land onto Joe Mickey. Karma Q does hit Nidalee one trick. And here's the rocket jump forward. Buster shot to knock him out, but Dapper Dave, oh, no last auto attack from Not Tanner. He wants to make sure that they don't get caught by the jungler there.
Just look at the item differential, though, between Tristana and the Ezreal. It's a 20-some-odd CS lead. The BF sword plus the pickaxe is going to do a lot more for you than a Sheen. A Sheen is pretty strong, don't get me wrong, but it is going to be a massive advantage for the Tristana. She's not afraid to just jump on you, and she knows where everyone else is on the map. This is going to be Infernal started up. You can see the nice pink ward there, blocking the vision. This could be the first Infernal Dragon going straight on over to Colorado. GP ult not quite on it, but Sejuani gets in there and steals it away.
The ultimate from Gangplank is dealing a lot of damage, and then suddenly Spanky gets the command shockwave. Double kill for Orianna, gonna be 3 as Vertex does go down after taking down bot with my support. So, Drake captured and the fight won. Oregon this is not the Clown Fiesta that the last game was. This is controlled and concise, and Oregon is doing much better this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about this Orianna. Spanky doing a really nice job here. You can see Nidalee one trick. I guess we're checking his cooldown reduction. It's at 15%. That tells you what rune he's taking, and that he's just trying to stack that up. As soon as he can complete his core build, despite being down in gold, he'll be relevant. He'll be relevant because it's going to take a while before Tristana can complete that Infinity Edge, especially with more like crit chance on top of it. Because once you complete an Infinity Edge, you might be a little strong, but you're not as strong as you would hope, because without additional attack speed and crit chance, you can't guarantee that your crits are going to make that much of a difference. And if you don't crit, it's really just an 80 damage item. Yeah, with nothing else. Whereas Trinity Force or Muramana, those are guaranteed damage at a certain level that you can count on. And so you don't have to rely on crit chance early, and you don't have to rely on those multipliers. So it can be a little awkward if you get the Infinity Edge completion and you feel bad because you don't get the crits you're hoping for. Honestly, Colorado's in a position where that's where they have to be, where they need extra help. They need that critical strike chance to come through. They need to make sure that Tristana is just as relevant as she needs to be for these team fights, because their composition's built to team fight. And this Orianna, you can see, she's a
wow. So much damage. And what I wanted to talk about before was the Dematerializer on Vertex hasn't been used. Why wouldn't you use that when you saw Orianna roaming to the bot side and you had full pressure on the mid turret? That's what she pushed it, has 0 damage on it, lost her own, but using that Dematerializer would have got you the push a little bit faster. What are you waiting for? Are you waiting for Baron minions? Does that count?
I'm going to go ahead and call it as a misclick in the runes.
Okay.
That's my explanation. You're used to taking, I'd have to look at the graphic, actually pull it up on like a League of Legends client and see if it's true. But I imagine you're doing like runes really fast, and maybe because you're used to taking boots and stopwatch, then you select it accidentally.
But the Gangplank ult, but a good heal from Jin James. I like that explanation, but I like that fight even more. Great disengage from Not, Tanner, and Bootless Brinton. Oh man, they're landing everything. Joe Mickey gets ignited. One more auto attack. Nidalee one trick is there. The ultimate from Sejuani doesn't land on anybody, but it zones all of them. Colorado needs to run away. That are 4 members of Oregon ready to destroy this turret.
Nidalee one trick. You can tell he used to be a Nidalee one trick when he lands skill shots that accurately. Man. Really nice Ezreal play there. I like that champion a lot myself, so it's fun to watch someone play it so cleanly. That spell rotation there was perfect. Landing perfectly timed auto attacks with the Sheen procs to boot. It's a nice play there. Secures himself a kill, and if I'm not mistaken, gets himself a pair of double buffs to keep himself faster, stacking up that tier to try and push this advantage that he's now catching up in farm, trying to catch up to this Tristana and be as relevant and as scary, really, as this Orianna is in mid lane.
And fantastic change from Oregon. Their early game last time was the problem. It is not the problem this time, but now we do see Spanky there flashing the Cataclysm. That is my least favorite interaction with Jarvan. I play Jarvan every once in a while, and it is the most frustrating thing to have your ult flashed.
Yeah, luckily the cooldown will come back up long before Flash does. And it looks like Maokai looked to be joining his team, but he kind of got caught in a bad situation. His ult's already used. That's going to be a nice stun. We'll see. Is it going to be? All right, so it's Tanner's turn to say, all me, all me.
All me.
I 1v1'd. You guys just, you know, hit one. You guys healed me or something. That's how you got the assist. All me. It's going to be 1 kill here onto the Braum. 1-0 and 6. Nice kill participation. 7 out of 9. It's going to give him up there in the 80s of percents. And so it's really nice play there. From each one of these members, it looks like most of them.
Oh,
okay.
Except for that sombrero.
Caster's curse has hit once again here.
That was fantastic.
As I say, clean play from all these members as Spanky decides to spank himself.
Yeah.
Can't really blame him for it, you know. It is Valentine's Day after all.
Oh my gosh.
The replay.
There was a replay on
just in case you missed it at home, we want you to know that the most fed, best playing member here, Spanky, 4-1 and 4, decides ultimates. You know, who needs it? Honestly.
That's the 3rd time we've seen that. I love it. It's so much fun.
Double replay.
Double replay is so good. But now, 6,000 gold ahead, 6 kills ahead, 3 turrets to 1. Oregon has really taken this game by storm. And we can even see the CS wins here. Top lane, jungle, mid. It's getting out of control at this point. What can Colorado do now? They have their tanky initiation with Ragnar and Joe Mickey on the Maokai and Jarvan respectively, but it doesn't seem like they have damage to win any fights.
No, they don't. One of the biggest problems they're facing is that they just don't have the push priority. They can't really shove something out and rotate to set a trap for people or anything like that, because the one way back into this is to have Annie with multiple other members of your team sitting in a brush waiting for a ill-advised rotation from Oregon and just deleting someone instantly, or multiple people instantly, because you can. You have the damage to do it. You're not so far behind that you can't actually kill an enemy champion, but you're going to have to take them by surprise. And so if you're always stuck at your turrets, you obviously can't rotate or create vision and deny vision. So that's kind of the struggle here for Colorado. But if last game was, yeah, feels good, right?
It feels really good to see that, the whole wave.
If last game was any indicator, thank you, then it's entirely possible for a massive gold lead to be thrown.
Oh, and there's the Cataclysm down onto Nidalee One Trick. Gangplank ults into the middle of the fight. It looks like Braum will die, but Sejuani is still alive. There's the ultimate we needed to see from Spanky, getting 3 members with that command shockwave. Vertex is going to go down because eating oranges and being cake. Flash forward, Nidalee One Trick picks up another kill, and the stopwatch ace in favor of Oregon. That was the fight. Beautiful play here coming out of Oregon. These Ducks showing exactly what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, really nice play. They're finally pressing their advantage. They're now up to that infamous 10K gold lead. We'll see if it gets deleted in the reverse like last game. It's going to be really, really interesting to see how this one plays out. If this does continue to go in Oregon's favor, that's going to be a 2-0. Colorado won't have another chance to bring this back to try and perform as they did in the early game. We would have jumped here. But, okay, so a quick replay, just in case you didn't see the turret die.
Yeah.
Being a little bit of a troll happen here.
Yeah.
But, as I was saying, Colorado did play cleanly in the early game, as we saw before in Game 1. That shows you they're capable of doing it. They're capable of making the right plays, given the right resources. Right now, they're just down resources and need to make the correct plays. Ooh, this could be a sneaky Baron. Out of vision, there's not a response here from Oregon. There is Rift Herald.
Hanging out with the Krugs.
Yeah,
I like it.
I mean, they're probably cousins.
I can see that.
Family related. They do get spotted out. They've already got it down to half health, too. It's possible that this could happen. Here comes the Ezreal. It's going to kind of leash, but
But then Orianna lands the shockwave. She is going to be tanky with her shield. That is a 2 for 0 so far. Vertex is going to be the next to go. There is the ultimate from Ragnar, but it's not going to stop anything. Baron didn't get a chance to reset and heal. 1,300 health, 1,000 health, 400 health, and that is a Baron in favor of Oregon. It's just playing that fight beautifully.
Yeah, spanked once again here by the Orianna. Nice ultimate usage. I mean, honestly, at this point, with those ultimates doing so much, I'm convinced. I'm absolutely convinced that Spanky, his sombrero, was just a stack ultimate hat. There was no one nearby.
You know what?
He's like, look,
That's
I
right.
need a couple extra percent CDR. I might need it 4 seconds earlier. Who knows? And he had it right when he needed it right then. So you know what? 5D chess happening here on your screen. Spanky for Oregon playing just clean.
Cataclysm goes down, but so does the Cannon Barrage. There's a kill for Bootless, and now everyone is trying to stop Oregon from getting in here. That was all the fight was going to be, but now their inhibitor's down. Shelly helped take down the entire bot side of the map. Their ultimate there, I don't know that Colorado can come back from this. Great little trick there with the Rift Herald, summoning it without putting it in a lane, and then when you're ready to shove it, you go and aggro the Krugs.
That's like 5D chess.
Yeah.
They're all grandmasters at 5D chess. I'm convinced at this point. They lull Colorado into a false sense of security game 1, convince them that it's impossible for Oregon to win. And then you see what they've done here in game 2. The mind games are so incredibly mind-boggling.
Yeah.
That I can't handle it. My brain is actually melting from watching this League of Legends.
And this is what we wanted to see, right? We said we needed to see adaptations. We needed to see changes, and Oregon is the team that did it. They drafted a better team comp. They got better early game. They played amazingly well in the early game as compared to the last. They still have Baron minions. There's an ultimate coming out from Ezreal to stop any sort of engage, but now Maokai is in all alone. Here is the team fight. Annie is dead. Glacial Fissure goes out. Now Maokai is going to be next. Jarvan jumps in, maybe getting a kill, but he is crowd controlled to death, and double kill for Sejuani there. And here comes the last turret. Ezreal keeping people on the fountain, just playing a little games here with the Maokai, dealing no damage, but it doesn't matter because Oregon is going to win this game. They dive in, and they killed the Karma with the ultimate from Orianna. And what a way to close that match. Congratulations to the University of Oregon for their victories here today. Wow. Completely different from game number 1. Is that the same team?
It's got to be.
It has to be.
They were playing the same summoner names. And they were able to get a 10K gold lead at some point. So those are definitely two patterns I can track between those two games. Okay, but honestly, if 10K won't do it for you, how about 20K?
Yeah, they got
like,
really
we
far
see
ahead.
your 10K gold lead, and we raise you 20. And they win. That was actually disgusting.
Honestly, it was. It was a complete flip from what we saw last game. They had a great team fight. They played super safe. Gangplank was able to get assists from across the entire map. Sejuani had great engages. And what happened with Orianna? Spanky just popping off that game. I think he only died once.
If that.
Yeah.
Probably died at some point. But, oh, the first blood. That was it.
Yeah, that was it.
That was it then.
Did not die the rest
Just
of the time.
dying under your turret while trading 1-for-1, mind you.
Oh, yeah.
Really well in a 1v2. And then from then on, stacking ultimate hat.
That was
clean.
One of the funniest things I've seen was stacking that ultimate hat. Very, very funny.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well be Zillion. You can see in the future. He's saying, I don't need this right now. Why didn't 2% extra CDR? I'll take it.
Worth.
Right? And his team is like, yes. And that's why the observers gave us the replay, because they wanted to make sure we understood. Three times they had to show us.
Were telling
and it
us.
Still took me minutes to understand. Man,
Yeah.
I'm behind the times, clearly. But
bad.
before we want to go for the end of the evening, we wanted to thank all the volunteers, the observers, of course, doing a great job there. Help put this together as a tournament and a broadcast, of course, for you guys to watch. So in case you're unaware, this tournament is happening without any official involvement from most of the schools. And so all the staff running this and really running everything is volunteer. So shout out to all of them. Shout out to all of you guys who have joined us to watch. We love having you alongside. Keep it up in that Twitch chat. We love seeing your comments. Subscribing to this channel, of course, helps as well. It ensures that this tournament runs smoothly as possible and allows us to do more of this stuff in the future.
And don't forget, we'll be streaming Hearthstone tomorrow and Rocket League on Friday. both starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Mountain Time on twitch.tv/PacificACG, and that you can follow the PACG on Twitter and Facebook by the same handle, PacificACG.
Yeah, check that out. And if League of Legends is your jam, then the PACG League of Legends returns on Monday at that standard time. Until next time, my name's Jake Superman Mori, and you can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch by the handle SupermanCasting, and check out my website at supermancasting.com.
And I'm Benju Hadre Sorensen. You can follow me on Twitter and Facebook at that handle. Talk to me. I love talking to people and connecting with my fans.
And that's going to do it for us here live at the historic Einar Nielsen Fieldhouse at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night and game on.
It's time to go away into the light. I feel the calming energy. I see the darkness come.